Korkki, hello. You signed up for coaching. You signed up for my one-on-one coaching, and you were one of the clients that I think kicked the most ass. And that's not a competition, but you definitely kicked a hell of a lot of ass in your 12 weeks. You had a really huge fucking transformation. And I want to kind of quickly blast through some of the things that you did over the 12 weeks. And then we'll kind of slow down a little bit and talk about them. So really quick, I will blast through. You had a threesome. Look at you. You slept with 7 women in the 12 weeks. You now have 4 girls that you're seeing ongoing. You became a lot more peaceful and happy. And that's like really fucking noticeable with you. You learned how to be a lot more honest and vulnerable with the women that you're seeing. You learned shibari. So if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's rope bondage like BDSM. You quit the software engineering industry and you've become a pretty decent photographer and you've become pretty fucking good at Photoshop as well. Now you're starting to make money from that. You're pursuing that. You've built a tribe of like-minded guys who push you and have your back. And you also seem a hell of a lot happier and more chill these days. So is there anything I missed out there that you think you've done in the last 12 weeks?
I think that's...
You lost some weight too. You lost a little bit of weight.
Oh, yeah. A couple kilos too, but like I think that pretty much covers it, like the everything I did in the 3 months.
That's a hell of a lot of stuff. Is there anything in there you want to jump on first, or do you want me to sort of take the lead?
Just take the lead.
Okay.
There's probably something you want to focus on, so go ahead.
No. I definitely don't have an agenda with these. I know what people will give a shit about the most. People go like, oh, a threesome. Oh my God. Like, oh, you had sex with like 7 women or whatever the hell I just said it was. I don't feel like for you that was the most important thing. Is that right?
No.
Like, I don't feel like that's what you took away. And it's funny because I just interviewed Harry as well, literally yesterday. For those of you watching, maybe I'll separate them. They would have posted like a week apart, but I just interviewed Harry yesterday and he said the exact same shit. He's like, man, I don't even think it was about the women. Like the women were nice, but it was about all this other like mental work that happened. And you and him have probably had 2 of the most like Zen transformations that I've seen out of anyone. Like where you two were at the start, especially you, man, like at the start, you were like a ball of anxiety when it came to your energy and your motivation and stuff like that. And then at the end, you just became this like Zen monk. And I'd like to take credit, but I honestly think a big part of it was a book that I recommended to you called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. So let's talk about that. Why the hell do you like this book so much? And why was this so like, because you never shut up about the book. And to be clear, I never shut up about the book either. But I feel like almost every single coaching session was you're like, man, I really like this book. I really fucking get a lot out of this book. So what is Loving What Is by Byron Katie? And why do you like it so much?
So what it is a stupidly simple technique on like just, questioning your thoughts that you have. Like, well, of course, the negative thoughts on like that are, you're having problems with something. You're thinking that well, in my case, like body self-image, whether I'm attractive or not, what I'm not getting enough done on productivity side. I'm not resting as efficiently as I should. I don't have friends, or like all of this kind of like things that you can think about logically that they are false, but your mind doesn't allow that. So that technique allowed me to go through and finally process those ideas or thoughts and replace them with a lot more positive ones. So then life is just really nice and peaceful.
So you say like the techniques. Let's talk specifically about what the techniques are. This isn't just like a feel-good book. It's a very action-oriented book, which is why I think a lot of people like it. And she basically, I think most of the book focuses on what she calls like the 4 questions. And what you do is when you have a negative thought or a limiting belief, like some of the examples that you've just given, you ask yourself 4 questions. They're pretty fucking simple questions. So let's say you have a limiting belief of like, I'm not very attractive, which was one that you had. You had at the start of the coaching and you were starting to move past it, but you had this thought of like, I'm not very attractive, or I don't think I'm attractive. And the first one of the questions that, this book gets you to ask is that true? So what you're doing there is you're basically questioning your limiting beliefs, because most people don't. Dude, most people will just accept their limiting beliefs and say, oh, I'm short, so I can't get laid.
Yeah.
or I'm not attractive, or women don't like me, or I'll never be rich, or I can't quit my job, or I have no friends. And they'll never actually question it. So the very first question is that true? And then sometimes you'll answer, yes, that is true. Yes, it is true that I can't get laid because I'm short. So the second question she gets you to ask is, can I really know that's true? That question is what stumps most people. They go, so in that example, they'll say, I can't get laid because I'm short. Is that true? Yes, it is true. Can I really know that's true? Well, okay, fine. I guess I can't know why every single woman has rejected me, like all the women that have rejected me. I can't know why they rejected me. I don't know if it was because I'm short. I think it was. I also haven't asked every single woman on the planet if she'll sleep with me. So I guess it's not entirely true that I can't get laid because I'm short. I haven't tried yet. So usually that question is enough to sort of shock you out of your limiting beliefs and get you to say like, well, maybe this limiting belief isn't 100% true. Maybe I'm just making excuses. The third thing that the third question she gets.
The third one, like I'm adding it, like, can you be absolutely certain? Like the point there is to figure out whether that thought is 100% true in every freaking case that there is on the earth. Like to point out to yourself that things aren't black and white.
Yes. And that most of the time, so I was literally talking with Harry about this yesterday on our podcast. Most of those limiting beliefs that we have are literally lies. Like they're actually just straight up fucking lies. Like they're not even remotely based in truth or evidence. And as Harry pointed out, a lot of the time we go seeking evidence to reinforce our limiting beliefs. So, he used the example where one of his limiting beliefs was women will never stick around. They'll sleep with me once, but they won't keep seeing me ongoing. Like I can't retain women. I can't get them to stick around. And so what he would do is he would go seeking out evidence to make sure that was true because he wanted to be correct. He wanted that narrative to be true. So every time a woman said like, oh, I can't see you on Friday. How about Saturday instead? I'm busy on Friday. How about Saturday? He'd go, yep, see, look, women don't want me. She's too busy for me. If she really cared about me, she'd cancel on her fucking friends and she'd see me. Or sometimes he would even create that evidence. So he would have this narrative in his head of like, women don't want to keep seeing me. A woman would say like, hey, Harry, I had so much fun with you. Can I see you on Saturday? And he would go, what's even the point of replying to her? Because she'll probably sleep with me once or twice and then she won't see me again, just like all the rest. So I'm not going to reply to her. And so he would ghost women, not doing it to be an asshole. It's just what we do when we self-sabotage. He would ghost them and then go, fuck, how come no women stick around? And that's what we do with limiting beliefs. So yeah, the second question gets you to basically say, am I full of shit with this limiting belief? Or am I like, is it actually true? Can I know 100% that it's always true in every case? Or is there like a little bit of doubt there? And when there's that little bit of doubt with your limiting beliefs, then it all starts fucking falling down. And you go, well, maybe it's not true. Maybe there is a world in which I can get laid even though I'm short. Or maybe I don't have to be unhappy at work. Maybe I can quit. So the third question, do you want to jump in and say the third question?
Third question, freaking hell.
We'll call this the pressure of podcasting. We'll call this the nervousness of podcasting.
For sure.
So is it true? Can I know it's true?
What happens when you believe the thought?
Yeah, like who am I with that thought, basically? How do I react? How do I feel when I believe that thought? Yeah, so if your thought is like your example of like, I'm not attractive, or I'm not an attractive person, or women won't find me attractive, you basically ask yourself, how do I feel? How do I behave? What actions do I take? What does my life look like? How do I go about my day when I believe that thought? So if I believe the thought of like, I'm not attractive, what happens? Well, I feel really shit. I don't actually take the action to get laid. I don't talk to women. I don't open myself up. I don't actually be an attractive person to women because I'm closed off, and that's not very attractive. I feel a lot of tension. I feel a lot of shame. I don't feel like I have a lot to give. I'm not even as nice to my friends and my family because I don't feel as happy and satisfied in myself. I don't look in the mirror. You basically list out all the ways that limiting belief is basically holding you back, or how you feel when you think that limiting belief. And then the fourth question is, who would I be without that thought? Or who would I be without that story or without that limiting belief? And most of the time when you go through that, man, that in itself, that fourth question releases like most of the tension. If you make yourself do this, you have to do this exercise properly. Don't just rush through it. Like actually sit and think about it. Maybe it takes you 15 minutes, maybe half an hour. Take your time with it. But, if you say, who would I be without the thought, I'm not attractive? Who would I be if I couldn't think that thought? Who would I be if that thought just got deleted from my head and I could never think it again? It's like, well, I'd probably just be pretty fucking chill. I'd probably go on a date and I'd probably just not be neurotic and nervous, and I wouldn't be worrying about like, oh, what if she doesn't find me attractive? I'd just be chill. I'd just be saying, how was your day today? And she'd tell me and I'd be like, oh, cool, that's interesting. And I'd be present with her. I would probably make more moves. I would probably actually get laid more because I would try harder. I would be more vulnerable. I'd open up. And so with these 4 questions, I think it's probably the best way that I've ever come across of just like destroying limiting beliefs. It's not even destroying them, man. It's like questioning them.
Yeah.
It's like asking if they're true. And that's really all she gets you to do in the book. Again, the book is called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. She basically gets you to question. She's really good at questioning. Someone says like, oh, I can't get laid because I'm short. And it's like, was that true? Have you ever checked? Have you ever asked yourself? And it's not about like proving yourself wrong or any of that. It's like finding out the fucking truth. Because I think most of us deeply care about the truth, but we believe lies immediately without ever questioning them. Like we just go, oh, I'm short, so I can't get laid. I had a YouTube comment that I brought up yesterday. Some guy said like, oh, I'm bald, so, it's impossible for bald guys to get laid. They'll never get laid. And it's like, bro, like, what am I? what are you talking about? And you're like, you've never questioned that. If he just sat down and actually asked himself, well, is that true? Can I find evidence to the contrary? It's like, bro, there's like a million fucking people that are bald that have gotten laid. So I like the questions just because they get you to push past a lot of the lies that we tell ourselves. And God, man, like you really, really, really did the exercises. I feel like every single day in the fucking Facebook group, you'd be like, oh, I did the exercises. I asked myself the questions on this. I had this limiting belief all my life and it's just gone now. Like, can you give us maybe 1 or 2 examples of things that bothered you maybe for like your whole fucking life that just with these 4 questions, you like pulled them apart and you were like, shit, man, I don't think I believe that anymore. Like shit that you'd hold on to for years.
Probably bigger ones are the on loneliness, that I don't have friends here, or like I'm not. People don't want to actually see me, even though like freaking they invite me to do cool stuff.
Yeah.
And like that's been with me like, I don't know, 20 years. Even though like
you never checked.
Yeah.
You never asked yourself if that's true. Like you literally never checked, is that fucking true? You're just like, no, it is true.
Yeah. But even though I knew it's not true, but still like with the questions, like then it just vanished. Like it was gone.
And that happens so much. It's like you ask yourself the questions, you realize your belief isn't true, and then there's just like nothing left.
Yeah.
Like as in it immediately disappears. And that doesn't happen all the time. Let's be clear. This isn't like a magical fix or something, but this is just about, it's almost like I like to call it stoicism. I like to call her book, she's like the female version of a stoic. Like, and stoics, if you don't know, are very obsessed with the truth, with reality, with logic, with reason, with not getting, bogged down by emotions and hysteria. And that's basically what her book is. She's obsessed with reality. She says that all the time. She's like, here's the best quote that she has in the book. I am a lover of what is, as in like what is actually true. I'm a lover of what is, not because I'm a spiritual person, but because it hurts when I argue with reality. And it's like, I fucking love that, man. That's like something that a stoic would say.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, one limiting belief. What's another one that you had just like forever?
Other part being a lot of like on work and productivity, it was like I'm not doing enough, or like I'm not resting efficiently. So whenever I don't fall asleep immediately, I have anxiety because I don't fall asleep immediately.
I know. That's like so fucking common, dude. Like, I feel like that's like half of my clients where they're just like, I can't sleep. Yeah. And I'm like, well, how long does it take you to fall asleep? And they're like, like 45 minutes. Like, it's awful. Like, I should be able to sleep in like 15 minutes. And like, how do I? And I'm like, bro, just take some time to chill the fuck out. Yeah. It happens a lot in self-improvement. We get so like obsessed with being as productive as possible, which sounds like a great goal, and it is. I will always support that. But fuck, man, like mental health has to be a goal in itself. Like, don't neglect your mental health. Don't neglect your peace. Don't neglect, if you like this phrasing better, don't neglect your stoicism. Like the inner game. Inner game is as important as outer game. So, yeah, I feel like you massively turned a corner on that one for sure. You were someone that beat yourself up a lot. And then by the end, you had plenty of days where you're like, I'm just going to rest today.
Yep.
And by the way, your idea of a rest day is what most normal people would call like a fucking amazing day. So, you know what I mean? And like, I'm the same, dude. I will call a lazy day. I would have done like more than the vast majority of, not people, but like the vast majority of like normies. And that's our rest day. So yeah, a little bit of rest is very important. I did a video the other day about how to still get stuff done when you're sick. Yeah. And one of the points that I made was like, just lower your expectations, do a little bit, be productive, but have a bit of time to fucking chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like relax a little bit. So let me read out something that you wrote. Actually, I tell you what. Let's dive into like the body image issues and attractiveness and stuff like this. Because you definitely used these 4 questions on your body image issues. Because when you first joined the group, you really didn't think you were attractive. Like, and a lot of people listening will be like, oh, this guy's like pretty fucking attractive. And it's like, this is him in his shitty fucking webcam, which is like pointed up his fucking nose. Yeah. And this is not flattering. Trust me when I say this guy is ridiculously attractive. And you really didn't think it. And your Tinder pictures, fuck, man. Like, if anyone's, do you post them on the forums? Have you got them on the forums?
No. I registered on the forums, but I've literally posted the introduction and then nothing. Haven't had time to do it.
Point is, this guy is ridiculously fucking attractive, and we'll show a couple of pictures in a second, but you lost, let's dive into the weight loss. You had ugly duckling syndrome, which is, and I've had this with a few girls that I've met, right, where they you know, either weren't that attractive during high school or whatever, or maybe they had a lot of weight to lose, they lose it, and then you still have like the mindset of the fat person, like you still see yourself as the fat guy. You even said that quite a few times. I was exactly the same when I lost all my weight. I was like, you know, I'm still fat. And you put me to shame with how much weight you lost. I lost, I mean, fuck, let's talk in kilograms. I lost 35 kilograms. You lost what, 50?
A bit more than 50, yeah.
Yeah. And so you still had the mindset of like, oh, I'm like the fat guy. And I remember at the start, I was like, bro, I'm going to drill it into your fucking head that you're attractive. Because like at the start, we tried to get you to take some Tinder pictures and you took a few. And I saw the first couple and I was like, holy fucking shit, dude. Like you are one of the people that's going to just crush it if you apply yourself. But you still had that sort of mindset of like, are you sure though? Like, am I deaf? Are you sure that I'm attractive? Let's throw some fucking pictures up so people can see. Because I want to talk about the weight loss because it's pretty goddamn impressive. So hopefully people can see that on screen. So before on the left is you. And like, Jesus fucking Christ, man, that doesn't even look like you. And then on the right, you know, handsome fucking gentleman. I don't even think that's your best picture on the right. But on the left, like, holy shit, man. Like, so let's dive into weight loss. How long is the transformation between the one on the left and the one on the right?
The one on the left is December 2017. And that was after I had gone down something like 20 kilos to 96, 97, if I remember correctly, and then back up to something like 106-ish, at which point the picture was taken. Mm-hmm. And that was already down from the 120-something-ish from where I started in 2016.
Yeah, because you kind of took like a mini break. You lost a bunch, took a mini break, lost the rest.
Yeah, or rather, at that point, there was a lot of like social stuff happening in 2017. So beer was good, and there was a lot of events that required beer.
Sure. How did you do it? Like, I guess a better way of phrasing that is like, if someone looks at this transformation and goes, oh shit, I'm more like the guy on the left and I want to be like the guy on the right.
Yeah.
What tips would you give them to get started? Like what worked for you in the beginning?
Well, there's one realization that I just actually wrote a blog post about, and I just started taking it as a game skill that like, okay, I take one small part of the skill and start applying it and actually focus on it as a habit, where like instead of thinking about as a diet or crash, like, okay, like this, I'll just lose the weight and then figure out what happens, but rather I just focus on the habits. So at that point, I started weighing like even more than I had before, like, okay, how much I eat, and it helped me a bit. But then in 2018 summer, if I remember correctly, I took an actual external coach that gave me a, like, at that point, like, I had my habits down, so it was fairly easy. But then they fit the macros better to what I was doing. At that point, I was already lifting fairly heavy, so that I get enough protein and the distribution is somewhat decent. Mm-hmm. And after that, like, the weight just started coming out.
Like, yeah, I feel like that's a decent way to do it. It's like prioritize the habits, and then the weight loss will come. Yeah, it's what my coach gets me to do. Obviously, I'm not losing weight right now, but bodybuilding is basically the same. So,
yeah, weight control in itself is, in my opinion, it's just a skill. It's a skill that like most people don't have, because they don't need to. And especially the like people that are fat, like they just don't have the skill. They have no freaking clue on how to do that skill.
Yeah. And I think seeing it as a skill is a useful way to go about it as well, because every skill can be improved. So you're right that people will sort of say, I'm fat, therefore I'm not good at weight loss. And it's like, just learn, just like get better.
Yeah.
Like standing on the scales once a week or every day, however long you want to do it, however often you want to do it, that's a skill. Like learning to weigh, literally building the habit of weighing yourself. Building the habit of walking for 20 minutes a day, that's a habit. Learning how to go to the gym, that's something you can build. So, yeah, I think people see the weight, like all the weight that they have to lose, and they get overwhelmed. Did you feel overwhelmed at the start? Did you understand that there was like 50 kilos or so that you wanted to lose? Or was it more just like, I'm not going to think that far ahead and I just need to start right now and see what happens?
Initially, I was just happy to get below 100. Okay. So, yeah.
100 kilos, which is what, like 220 pounds, I guess, something like that?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, which was already like 20 kilos down from the like starting point, which was like a huge thing to start with. And that I went down to the current bit less than 70, like 69 something is the current weight that I'm at. And yeah. But like, I just kept going. I'm like, okay, I'm not yet at the physique I'd like to be. Okay, let's just keep going. But at this point, like, it's automatic. Like, I'm just following where I'm at and then seeing, okay, do I stop or do I continue? It comes automatically at this point because it's a skill. Like, it's a habit that I do.
Yeah, I think people, let's zoom out a bit. And instead of calling it like weight loss, let's just talk about it as like fitness or health and fitness, body. I think people look at that and go, okay, how do I get to my dream body like as quickly as possible? And then I'm done. And it's like, I understand wanting to get there quickly. Like I had that mindset myself, and I'm not saying to go slowly, not at all. But with something like your body, you got to think of it more as a long-term project. Like even when you get to a point where your body looks amazing, and I'm nowhere near there yet, you're still working on that as well. But even when you get there, there's maintenance. You don't just say, right, I'm jacked, I'm ripped, I'm fucking huge, I'm ultra lean, you can see my abs, cool, I'm done. Now I can neglect the gym and I don't have to fucking watch what I eat. It's like, no, like this is a lifetime thing.
Yeah.
And at the start, I think that can be overwhelming. Like if you're huge, because you realize I'm almost going to have to become a different person.
Yeah.
Or that's the mindset. Sure. It's like, I'm going to have to become a fit person. And I'm not that, and I haven't been that. Therefore, I can't ever be that. And so what I would suggest there is do the fucking Byron Katie questions. Ask yourself the questions. Is it true that I can't be a fit person? Can I really know that that's true? And the answer you'll come to is like, well, I guess I haven't really tried. I say I've tried, and everybody says they've tried, but you haven't really tried. You haven't actually properly really set it as your number one priority and gone for it. And you find when you do, you've found it, I've found it, plenty of people have found it. Once you actually just fucking get started, it's relatively easy to keep that up if you focus on small habits like you did. But if you sit there and say, fuck, I've got to lose like 50 kilos, yeah, you probably won't do that. That's scary. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
When I first started losing weight, I didn't say, oh, I got to lose 35 fucking kilos. It's like, no, that's scary as shit. That's going to take like the better part of a year. And for you, like it's been an even longer term project than that. And so the best thing you can do is just say, let me just start improving.
Yeah.
Like, let me lose 1 fucking kilogram over the next month. Or let me walk 15 minutes a day. Or let me just go to the gym and fuck around. I won't even be good at it. Let me fuck around. So yeah, I like the focus on small habits. I feel like that's almost the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Or it's at least the most effective way to keep it up.
Talking about fucking around in the gym, like literally what I did in the beginning was I just went to the gym. Like that was the only thing. Like I went there, changed my clothes, went in, and I think a couple of times even I just literally walked through the door and walked back home.
Yeah, bro, I've said that to so many people. I'm like, if you can't go to the gym, if you really struggle, literally walk into the gym, do 1 lap around the gym, go home. Congratulations, you went to the gym. Build that into a habit and then stay for a bit longer, then stay for a bit longer. And eventually you get to a point where you're staying there for 40 minutes or half an hour and then start doing some workouts. Yeah. It's like we say with people, with approaching, just go out on the front lines. You don't even have to talk to any women, just walk around. So yeah, I like that you embrace that. And to be clear, in case it wasn't obvious, you lost all the weight before the coaching. This isn't like a coaching testimony. You didn't lose the fucking, let's be clear on that. I would love to say like, look, imagine if I could just say like, look, here's what 12 weeks of coaching. Look at this guy on the left, 12 weeks later, he's lost 50 kilos. No, this was like longer. You did lose a little bit of weight in the coaching group, but that was really just you continuing up the habits you were already doing. So
yeah, I think I lost the last 5 kilos during the coaching or something.
There you go. Well, we can throw that in.
Yeah.
12 weeks of coaching, you lost 5 kilos. That's cool. That's cool. I feel like that was like, to make the point, I feel like that just happened as an extension of stuff you were already doing. I don't even feel like that was your main goal. You basically never really talked about it. You just said like, oh, I'm sticking to my habits, and then the weight kind of came off. Yeah.
Because that's what it is at this point. Like, it's so automatic. Like, I weigh my food, I meal prep stuff, I eat as long as it fits my macros. Like, literally, past 2 days, I've eaten pizza for lunch. Because I know how to do it.
Yeah, I used to be an if it fits your macros person. And to be clear, my coach is just a bodybuilder, so different discussion. But if it fits your macros, which is where, yes, you basically eat whatever the fuck you want, as long as it's within enough protein, not too much fat, enough carbs, like enough calories. Yeah. You can eat whatever the fuck you want. I lost most of my weight doing if it fits your macros too. Like, that shit works. Everything works, but
everything works. It just well, especially with this one, in terms of long term, because that's what keeps me going, is that, okay, if I want something, I can eat it as long as it fits there. And, I don't, that's the point. Like, like to eat a lot. So I like to eat by volume a lot, whether that's, calorie dense is another thing. But like, if I want a pizza, then I'll fit the pizza and figure out how to eat like good amount of volume of food in addition. Mm-hmm. That keeps me going in long term, like, because that removes one reason to quit. I don't need to. I'm not restricted to certain kinds of food, but rather I can have my favorite thing if I want.
Dude, so many people do diets where it's very like restrictive, and let's be clear, a diet is literally a fuck, man. See, I don't even want to call it a restriction. Let's rephrase it. Let's say a diet is a reduction. It's a reduction in calories. And there's different ways to go about that. Keto is one. If it fits your macros, fucking even becoming a vegan, you will eat less calories. Like, whatever diet you choose or eating plan you choose is reducing your calories. But people phrase it as a restriction. So they say, I'm not allowed to eat cake. I'm not allowed to eat this. When you start telling yourself that in your head, you will eventually rebel against that, because it feels like you're draining willpower, which you are, not being allowed to have something that you want. And so one of the best quotes I've ever heard about like weight loss or anything like that, the best diet is the one that you'll keep up forever.
Yeah.
So no matter what that diet is, the same as in the gym, the best workout plan is the one that you'll keep up forever. Same as, I don't know, fucking making money. The best making money plan is the one that you can keep up forever. The one that you can just do for the rest of your life. And so, you know, I think people look at diets and go like, how do I lose the weight? And that's not even the worst thing, because if you lose it, but the point is at some point you want to move on to something that's more long-term.
Yeah.
And you yourself have started from that one that's pretty long-term. Like, and so there's no willpower needed. It's just the weight's kind of just come off. Yeah.
The reason why I went to the long term is because like I had been yo-yoing with my weight for a long enough time that like I've been there.
I did the same shit.
Yeah, with like losing a bit and then gaining that and a bit more, and fuck me.
Yeah, man. Any other tips for anyone that wants to lose weight? I think just start is mine. Like, don't be perfect.
Yeah, start, and the aim is to fix the thing for a long term. So even if you fuck up, doesn't matter. Just keep at it. Like, figure out what works for you and what reduces the calories, so you actually there's a change in your body composition. Follow what's your weight. The weight fluctuates like daily, so follow weekly averages, not daily.
Yeah. And I think maybe I'll throw in one more tip: is do it in a self-love way rather than a self-punishment way. Another way of phrasing that is lose weight in a positive mindset rather than a self-hatred negative one. So what I mean by that is lose weight because you want to look better. You're excited for better results. Maybe you want your dating or your sex life to improve. Maybe you want more energy. Maybe you want to live longer. Some sort of positive motivation that you're moving towards. Don't do it in a way of like, I'm a fat piece of shit and I'm disgusting and everyone hates me, because that's not very easy to keep up long term. No. And you will eventually think of it like this. When you have the day where you're feeling unmotivated, or maybe you're feeling down, or you're depressed, or you've had a hard day at work, or whatever it is, what is nicer? Having someone behind you saying, hey, champ, you got this. You can stick to your diet, bro. I believe in you, man. You got this. You're a legend. Don't worry that you're tired today. You got this, bro. You got this. Is that easier? Or is it easier having someone behind you who's like, I know you're tired today, but you're a lazy fucking fat piece of shit. You're disgusting. Like, if you eat that fucking cake today, I will hate you forever. You're never going to lose weight because you're fucking disgusting. This is why you don't have any friends. This is why fucking women don't like you, because you're disgusting. You're literally fat and greasy and gross. It's like, I don't know about you, but if I have that second one, I'm just going to reach for the cake and eat it because I feel shit. And so don't do that to yourself. Don't sit there and say, I'm fat and disgusting and I need to lose weight. Fuck, that's awful, especially when you're having a bad day. So give yourself those positive pep talks. Think about what you're moving towards. You're moving towards a better sex and dating life, more intimate relationships, people respecting you more, you being able to look in the mirror and be really, really, really happy with what you see back, like all that kind of shit. So do it for positive reasons. Don't worry about the negative reasons. Like, let go of them. On the topic of like letting go of negativity, one thing that you wrote in your final post as you left the group, because you wrote like a big, long, post of all the things you'd accomplished. It was detailed. I liked it. Everyone writes nice things at the end. They're really cool. Yours, one of the things you said was the 4 questions, as in the questions from that Byron Katie book, is it true? Can I know it's true? The 4 questions allowed me to process my negative thoughts directly and immediately, instead of avoiding the tasks and their associated thoughts with things like manga, light novels, YouTube. So basically what you're saying there is I stopped self-medicating and I actually addressed the problem. And I think these 4 questions, you can also say stoicism, meditating, any of these tools, the 4 questions were just the tool that you liked the best. Any of these tools for like actually facing your negative thoughts, man, that is so much more efficient and more productive than going straight to a self-medication tool, which usually doesn't actually fix the problem. It just distracts you from fixing the problem. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with a bit of YouTube or manga or light novels and stuff, but do you feel a lot more, I don't want to say in control, but do you feel a lot more like your mind is, fuck it, let's just say in control. Do you feel like you're more in control of your mind, or your mind is more peaceful now that you're not self-medicating as much?
100% like more peaceful. I'm gonna say I wouldn't say like in control, but like those thoughts pop up still, but like they're previously they were like this huge negative blobs that drowned the whole days, all the good stuff. Now it's just, huh, there's a fun thought I haven't had in a while.
Yeah, no, okay. So you had you took this quote from the Byron Katie book, and I used to say it to you as well because we both love this quote. If you can get to a point where anytime you have a negative thought, instead of saying like, fuck, why do I have this negative thought? Like this stupid, why am I being negative? Which is what a lot of people do. When we say be less negative, we don't mean start being negative about the fact that you have negative thoughts.
Yeah.
Like be positive about the positive thought, about the negative thoughts too. And so a favorite quote that we used to say from the Byron Katie book is meet your negative thoughts or meet any of your thoughts as if they're an old friend, like returning and you're like, oh, hello, you again. So, let's say you have body image issues and you think you're unattractive. Maybe you're going through life and you've lost a bunch of weight, you're feeling pretty good. And then you just randomly, you're looking in the mirror and you have that old thought that says like, oh, I'm fat and gross and no one would love me. Instead of going like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why am I thinking that thought? You kind of meet it as if it's an old friend. You go, oh, hello, old thought. Yeah, I remember when I used to think I was fat and disgusting. You're back, are you? Okay. Isn't that interesting? Like, why do I feel fat and disgusting? Is there something, do I want to lose a little bit of weight and do that in a positive way? Or, am I just feeling a little bit tired? Is that why I'm having this negative thought? Or did someone say something critical of my body or something? Or have I gained a bit of weight maybe? And maybe that's what's happening. Or is this just an old thought from the past that I can let go? So meeting your thoughts with more like curiosity and investigating, like, is this true? What do I want to do about it? What action do I want to take with this thought? Like, how do I want to respond to this thought? A more stoic sort of way of dealing with it rather than just what a lot of people do where they're like, fuck this thought. Why am I having this thought? Like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
But for the listeners, like this didn't happen like immediately. The book isn't like any magic or something. Yep. But like I worked on those thoughts like daily, like couple hours at best. Like okay, like writing down like on productivity, I've written something like 100, maybe even more statements that I've then done the Byron Katie's inquiry on with these 4 questions, and then writing the turnarounds, which is the you change the negative statements to a positive one and see whether that's more true.
Yeah.
So yeah, after you've done that like 100 times, they for sure like they start to be like, huh, yeah, I remember this feeling, this emotion, or this thought. And after you do that for the same thought 3 times, then it's even more like, yeah, I've already had this.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Let's be clear. You worked really hard on this, and I did too in the early days when I was depressed in my mid-20s or my early 20s. I wasn't doing these questions, but I was doing basically the same thing. I was doing cognitive behavioral therapy, which is essentially the same thing. You just say, is this negative thought true? Is there any evidence to the contrary? Is there any evidence that's the opposite of this thought? Like, can I think of a positive way to phrase this thought? And I had to do that, or I wanted to do that tens of thousands of times. And I've talked about this before. I brainwashed myself into positivity by just looking for as many positive thoughts as I possibly can and turning every negative one, like flipping it and saying it's positive opposite. And you've done the exact same thing. Yeah. So yeah, let's be clear. You don't just read the book and feel good. Lots of people do that with self-help books. They'll read the book, they'll feel good for a week, and then they just go back to their old life. And, well, how come this book didn't change my life? Because you didn't that's like if you read my website and then you're like, how come my sex life isn't improved? And it's like, have you talked to any women though? And you're like, well, no, but like, what do you mean? I read the Tinder guide, right? Like, I thought you said I'd get laid a lot. And it's like, you have to say hello to some women. You have to say, would you like to come back to my apartment? They're not just going to know that you've read the Tinder guide and they go like, oh, I'd love to sleep with you, sir. Let me do all the work. Like, so yeah, people have a weird relationship with self-help books or self-improvement books. They'll go, I read it. How come my life isn't changed? Because you fucking take action. And she makes that pretty clear in the book. But
yeah,
let's discuss what you touched on there, where you said after you have asked yourself these 4 questions, And again, the questions are, is it true? Can I know it's true? Who am I, or how do I feel when I believe the thought? And then who would I be, or how would I feel if I didn't have that thought? After you've done those 4 questions, you do something called a turnaround, which, here's a quick and easy way of explaining it. You basically take the negative thought that you're having, or the story, or the, limiting belief or whatever that you're having, and flip it around and say basically the exact opposite of it. And then you sort of investigate that and see if there's any truth in that. See if there's any evidence, see how it feels to you. And so this isn't just about saying, oh, I'm going to say the complete opposite and then I'll feel better. Like, if you look in the mirror and you really do genuinely feel like a fat piece of shit, you're probably not going to feel better by just saying like, no, I'm beautiful. You'll go like, well, that's not fucking true. I don't believe that. So It's not about just like saying the opposite. You say the opposite and then you need to meditate on it, think about it, investigate it, find evidence. And so if your limiting belief or your negative thought is like, I'm unattractive, you say the opposite. I am attractive. Is that true? Like, is there anything about me? Can I find any evidence that I'm attractive? Well, shit, man. I mean, I guess I have a nice smile. Okay, well, that's attractive. And I mean, I guess I've had some women tell me that my eyes are really pretty. Okay, well, I guess eyes can be pretty. People tell me my sense of humor makes them attracted to me. Okay, there's that. Like, and you go through and find some actual evidence, and then you put all that together and you say like, okay, is there at least some truth in the idea or the statement that I'm attractive? Is there any truth there? And most of the time you find like, fuck man, that statement is as true as the statement I'm unattractive. Like, they're both equally true. Either one could be true. And so in that case, which one do you believe? And I always say, believe the one that makes you feel good. Believe the one that's productive. Aren't we here to be happy and productive and achieve our goals and shit? Does believing that you're an ugly piece of shit make you feel good? Does it make you productive? Does it make you want to go out and talk to women? Does it make you want to go to the gym? No. It makes you want to sit there and eat junk food and watch Netflix. Does believing, you know what, I am attractive, is that productive? Yes, because then you'll go out and talk to women. You'll have something to offer. You'll want to put yourself out there. So doing this turnaround, or just finding evidence to the opposite of the negative thought you said, is absolutely mandatory in this. Yeah, let's be clear. You don't just like say, oh, I'm beautiful. Like that. I think that's what like Instagrammers and like YouTubers and all the people who write like motivational quotes, they're just like, you're beautiful, girl. You go, girl. You're lovely and you deserve everything in the world. And it's like, you have to actually see if that's true. So yeah, investigating is important. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I know most of the like self-help or spiritual books that are around this topic, like they are in similar, like just think about that you're more positive. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah. Just, they're essentially saying just lie to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're saying here. In fact, we're saying the opposite. We're saying find out the truth.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you go to find the truth, sometimes someone's very negative or they have a really strong limiting belief. Let's say they truly believe, let's pick one that comes up all the time. I'm short, so I can't get laid. Right? Let's say someone really believes that one. Maybe they do this exercise and they go through and they say, what's the opposite? I'm short and I can get laid. Okay, is there any truth in that? They might really try really hard and they might not be able to find any evidence or even any hints of truth. And they might go like, no, I literally can't find anything. I still believe it's impossible to get laid if I'm short. I can't even find anyone else that is short and gets laid. So, by the way, there's plenty of short people that get laid. So there's your evidence. But even if they can't believe that, at least tell the fucking truth. Tell the truth. The actual truth is you don't know if you can get laid or not because you haven't gone and asked every woman. So the truth might be something like this. I have, up until this point in my life, I have hit on 10 women and all 10 of them didn't sleep with me. So I can't sleep with the 10 women that I've slept with or that I've asked to sleep with so far. Maybe that has something to do with my height. Maybe it doesn't. But up until this point, I've tried with 10 women and it didn't work. That's the truth. That's the actual fucking truth. Stop telling lies about like, oh, it's because I'm short. It's like, how do you fucking know? You've just made that up. Even if it is true that you can't get laid because you're short, go out and fucking find out. Go and ask a bunch of women, hey, is the reason you reject, like, why did you reject me? Go out and interview them. Go and hit on, like, run some sort of decent sample. Hit on 10,000 women and see if you can get laid. But most guys will try with like 4 women and they won't try very hard. and they will dress like shit and they will smell like shit and they will be massively overweight and they'll have no interesting hobbies and they won't even try with the woman. They won't even be present with her because they're so stuck in their head, and they'll do like the worst job ever of talking to her. And then she'll just go like, oh, actually, I have a boyfriend. I'm sorry. And they're like, yep, see, it's because I'm short. Girls never give me a chance. So you have to actually look for the truth is what we're getting at here. If you don't want to tell yourself some feel good, like positive self-talk, fine. Just tell the fucking truth. I've hit on 5 women so far. They didn't sleep with me. That's the whole fucking story. That's literally the story. I hit on 5 women. They said no. We don't know why they said no. So tell the fucking truth. On that note, on the note of, I mean, just even talking, let's move on to talking to women and stuff like that. One thing that you posted in here is that you learned how to be a lot more honest and vulnerable with girls. Are you talking specifically what you wanted in the bedroom? Are you talking about intimacy? Are you talking about just opening up? Like, what did you mean by that? And how do you feel you've made improvements in that area?
So essentially, like what I desire. So at this point, like I'm probably not going to be in Finland for a couple of years, because I lived in abroad in Amsterdam, Netherlands before during the Corona pandemic. Then I moved just in the end of it back to Finland, and probably I'm going to be moving out somewhere in Europe in a couple of years again. So whether it's going to be a long term, any serious relationship, that's probably not going to be a good thing for now. So I'm honest that, okay, I'm looking for casual relationship. Long term, yes, but fairly casual. 2 being that, okay, I've noticed that I don't really enjoy, normal sex, but rather I'm more interested in, the BDSM, shibari side of things. With the, Tinder matches, I started the discussions with, I'd like to try something. And then on the days where, we talk about, okay, what do you enjoy? What do you like to try? And that's one of the things that on the honesty, like, okay, I honestly can have a discussion on a date in middle of like public place to discuss, okay, what do you like?
Yeah, what kind of sex stuff do you like, typically? Yeah.
And that requires a bit of you have to be vulnerable there. But also at that point, like, reason I moved back to Finland was because I burned out with a job in Netherlands. So that's also part of it. Like, I talk about that fairly openly, and, all of that kind of stuff that I don't really, of course, I don't, drop it as a bomb to whoever I'm talking, but when they ask what you're doing, like, I say that I'm not doing much. I'm figuring out my life again after a burnout.
Yeah, maybe a way of phrasing that is, I think you're more comfortable being you.
Yeah.
I had a big discussion with Harry on the podcast with him yesterday, and a lot of what I talked about with him was him learning to be his like authentic self. Yeah. And I think you've definitely done that as well. Like, you've learned, okay, here's the things I like in the bedroom. Here's the kind of job I want to pursue. And we're going to talk about you leaving the software engineering field. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a bit. But it really was you just saying, like, here's this, it's almost like permission, man. It's like you giving yourself permission to go for the things you want, or to even just try some things and see what you like. And the screening in that as well. Let's throw up on the screen. This is one of your Tinder pictures. So look at that. Look at that fucking sexy lady and that sexy man as well. And yeah, you took this picture with one of the girls that you're seeing. Yeah. And you guys had a bunch of fun with this stuff. And this is one of your Tinder pictures. And the point that we're getting to is you have started screening like I do on my Tinder profile. So for anyone who doesn't know, I have BDSM pictures on my profile as well. Similar to this. I actually think yours was a little better than some of mine. I liked this shot a lot. And yeah, it's like screening for what you want and just being honest, man. Like, I feel like that's what we're all here for. Everybody listening, or at least most of the people listening, you're all here because you want to get laid. in an honest, authentic way. Like, you don't want to beat around the bush. You don't want to lie to women. You don't want to lie to yourself. You don't want to have to play these games, I guess, of like, oh, what pickup routine should I use? What text game is the best? Like, and to be clear, like, sure, if you enjoy text game, go for it. I'm not throwing shade at text game, but a lot of you are here because you don't really like to do that stuff. You just want to straight up say like, hey, I like you. Would you like to grab a drink? And if we like each other, we have sex. Yes or no? Yeah. Or, you know, in your case, hey, I like to do BDSM. I'm learning shibari. I'm learning, you know, rope bondage. Would you like to try? In my case, it's, hey, I have a girlfriend. We're in an open relationship. We sleep with girls together and we do BDSM. Would you like to join us? Yes or no? And so I think that's why most people follow or are part of this community, is because they want to just be able to say, here's what I want. Do you want it? Yes or no? If you don't want it, cool. All the best. Like, namaste. Go have a great life. I'm going to go find someone else who wants this. And you say that without like, you know, bitterness. Like, don't say, well, fuck you, bitch. You know, I've got fucking abundance mentality. I'm going to go find another bitch. I don't need you. No, it's more just like, hey, if you don't want that, that's cool. I'll go find someone else who does.
Exactly.
So okay, I can't remember the answer to this question, man. Had you done, I know you hadn't done any shibari, but had you done much in the way of BDSM before the coaching?
Yeah, I realized that I like something more than vanilla stuff like ages ago, but like actually getting to try more of it, like that's like just during this summer, really.
So what held you back? It was just like you just hadn't made it a priority, or was there some nervousness there? Or
nervousness, and in like previous relationships, like talking like 2015 and before, I tried some stuff, you know. I'd like to, you know, try it and said to that girl. But then when you notice that she didn't necessarily like it that much, and then other parts interfere, for example, my stress and burnout related stuff, even back then, you know, drop the idea of actually trying it further.
I think that's pretty common in relationships, man. Like, the number of girls that meet my girlfriend Imogen and I, you know, for threesomes and stuff, the number of them that say, I've always wanted to try BDSM, or I've always wanted to be a little bit more kinky, but I tried with my last boyfriend, or I've tried with a couple of boyfriends and they were kind of into it, but like not really. And then I couldn't try it with anyone. Bro, the number of girls who say like, I just haven't found anyone to try this stuff with.
Yeah.
It blows my mind, but I get it, because it's like BDSM. And when we talk about BDSM, guys, we're not even talking like hardcore BDSM. I think a lot of people think of BDSM and they're like, oh shit, I can't do any of that. And it's like, no, we're just talking about like blindfolds and maybe a little bit of spanking and some dirty talk, like just the basic shit. Yeah. And you and I do some of the more kinky shit.
Or in my case, like it starts with just, you know, making a handcuff with a rope instead of, you know, those handcuffs you buy from like a sex store.
Or a blindfold with a scarf.
Yeah.
Or like this shirt, this button-up shirt I'm wearing, I could literally use this bit here of the shirt and just wrap it around her head.
Yeah. Or a necktie or whatever. Necktie. Like, yeah. Yep.
Fucking a towel. I know that's big, but you know.
T-shirt, like.
Yeah. Anything. Yeah. Fuck, if you want to get really creative, you can tell her to I've done this with a few girls. Tell her you have to close your eyes and you are not allowed to open them. If you open them, we stop immediately. No more sex for the rest of the night. Like, you can do that. And that's fun too, because there's like pressure of like, shit, I got to keep my eyes closed. I've done that with plenty of girls, and they will keep their eyes closed as long as you stick to your rule. Like, if she does open them, you say, all right, no more, we stop. And then, you know, maybe you give her one chance. She'll go like, please, can we please keep going? You go, okay, but you don't get to do it again.
And that
talking about the basic shit.
Yeah. And that goes to the D of the BDSM discipline. And that's one of the, like, for me, the interesting parts. Like, the ropes is just the extension of the like power dynamic control between there.
Also, there's arguments on what the D stands for. A lot of people say it stands for domination.
Yeah,
everyone argues about like what B.
It's two things: that domination or discipline, like whichever you want.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah, it's the
I
same
like
thing.
to just call it kinky sex. Like I use the word BDSM because people will roughly know what I mean. But a lot of the time I just say like kinky sex. Non-vanilla. Fuck, what point was I making before that? Trying BDSM. Yeah, it's essentially screening. And a lot of people want to try BDSM. Maybe they try with their partner and she or he is not super into it. And when you get to a point where you're single again, or maybe you're dating casually in open relationship, it's really about screening and just saying to people like, yo, do you want to try some shit? And I think if you just start with the basics, like maybe you're on a date with a girl or you've taken her back to your place, you say like, hey, do you want to try something a little bit more fun? Can I blindfold you and see what happens? Just
Yeah.
start with the basic shit. But yeah, I feel like you definitely gave yourself permission to be a lot more kinky in this. Was that just a priority thing? Like, okay, I'm going to make this a priority for the first time because now I'm here in the coaching program. I'm going to focus on sex. Or was there also an element of like, well, Andy does kinky sex, so I will too? Or was it because Renee also did a lot of kinky sex? And at the very start, when you signed up, I basically compared you to him. And I remember, and if he's listening to this, which he might be, and so if anyone doesn't know who I'm talking about, Renee was a previous coaching client of mine. He did a lot of like BDSM and kinky sex and stuff. And right in the first week, I said to you, listen, we got to beat that Renee guy. You got to do more threesomes. You got to have more crazy kinky sex. And so, was it a combination of all that? Like what gave you the permission to seek the BDSM shit out?
I had tried to, incorporate that with my casual dates with girls during the spring. But then, like, around that time when I decided to start the coaching, I said, okay, fuck it. Like, I'm just gonna, copy paste your template from what you've been using on Road to the Gut site, and okay, like, let's try it. Let's go like fully YOLO this. Like, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. I think it's helpful. Like the more people, and by the way, guys, you don't have to do BDSM. You're not worse or better at sex if you do or you don't. But I think the more people in our community that try stuff like this, the easier it is for the next person who comes along because they're like, oh, these 5 people did BDSM. Maybe I can too. And I think lowering the barrier to entry also helps. Like, as we've said, just literally get a blindfold and tie her up or blindfold her and just try a bunch of different things. Try making her feel good. Try, going down on her for half an hour and right when she's about to come, you stop and you say, no, you don't get an orgasm today. Like, that's called edging, by the way.
Yeah.
Just try some toys, try some different shit. So people have a high, I've said this a million times, there's a very high barrier to entry with BDSM. Like it's a community that doesn't seem that welcoming to me when you'd think it would be really welcoming. If anything, a lot of people seem to try and keep other people out because they go, no, you're going to do it wrong. No, you need to have like a 453-minute conversation about consent first. Like, no, you might hurt the other person. And it's like, why don't you just go really slowly and then you won't hurt them? Why don't you talk about what you both might be into first? Why don't you just say, hey, can I try this? Do you want to try it with me? It's a weird community. When I say weird, I mean it's weird that people don't want or don't seem to be very welcoming in it, especially when a lot of other sexual communities are very opening, but or welcoming.
Yeah, and talking about the welcoming and being like okay with it, like that's one of the reasons why one of my first questions on this topic like is like, okay, what do you like is one, but then like what do you don't like? Because like I want to optimize for like it's fun for both. Like if it's not fun for both me and the girl, like why would I do it?
Yeah. Another way to do that is to say to each girl, like, what's on your bucket list? Like, give me 5 or 10 things that you've always wanted to try that you think would be like amazingly fun to try. And then you just go through and tick each one of those things off. So yeah, it's a very low barrier to entry if you just start small and give yourself permission to suck. One thing you definitely gave yourself permission to suck on was the rope bondage shit, otherwise known as like shibari. Because I told you that I'd started taking some rope classes. I just used like an online website, and then you were like, screw it, like maybe I should do this thing too. Like, what's this website? And you got one of your girls to start doing it with you, and you guys like every week would like practice and you'd take some photos together. Again, I'll put it up on the screen for a second. Like this was, and that's some really nice rope work. Like I told you, I got nerdy about this photo. I was like, that's some nice rope work, my friend. That's really nice. Like, it looks hot, but it's also like, we're going to get nerdy about the fucking rope work. fuck it, we'll say the name of the website, shibariclasses.com. And it's just, I searched for about 5 or 10 different like beginner classes on like rope bondage, and a lot of them were pretty intimidating to me. This one's the one that was the most like beginner friendly. And there's a bunch of different tutorials in there. It almost doesn't matter which order you start with. There's several beginner ones. I would just start with any. You started with a different beginner one than me. And just go through with your girlfriend or a girl that you're sleeping with and just try a bunch of different ties. And again, give yourself permission to suck with it. You don't have to have the perfect ropes. I would get some ropes that are soft if you can. They sell ropes on their website, and this isn't sponsored, obviously. But yeah, I feel like that's one of the things where it's like people do have a high barrier to entry with that as well. They go, oh, I got to be an expert at tying rope. And what Imi and I have done with girls and what you did with your girl is you literally just said, what? Do you want to try this with me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and
that's something.
Yeah,
go.
On top of like starting, like, I like the Shibari classes especially because like they start like the thing what you see on like what bondage stuff to do. Like that's the fancy things that people do that are like looks nice, but like all of it like comes down to basically one knot and then rope going around and being with friction.
Yeah, you're literally just wrapping someone up in rope. Yeah, it's not as like intricate as it seems. It can be really intricate, but yeah, don't feel like you have to be an expert with it.
Yeah. And after being with the girls and trying out, like they haven't seen or been in that situation most of the time, so it's novel for them, like even whatever you do, very much. And like if you experiment like with one new thing every day, every time you see a girl, like you're gonna rack up so many different ways of doing this stuff. And if you see two different girls, you can do the same thing, both of them, and try it, do it a bit better the next time.
Yep. People do this weird thing with sex. Like, let's just talk about sex in general, but especially like BDSM. The number of times that someone will say to me, dude, I really want to try some kinky sex or try some blindfolds or try some ropes or toys, or I just want to try a bit of BDSM. But, I don't have any experience, and the girls are going to think that I'm like a liar or that I'm like a fucking loser or that like I don't know what I'm doing. And I get them to stop and pause for a second, and I say, okay, so you don't have any experience, correct? And they say, yes. And I say, and so you're saying that every girl is going to expect you to have experience, yes? And they say, well, yes. So how are you going to get that experience? And then they stop and they think for a bit, and then they go, oh shit. Well, I guess I have to practice with a girl, don't I? And I'm like, bingo, yes. Stop telling yourself that you have to be some expert at BDSM before you can try it. Yeah. Stop telling yourself you have to be like a god at sex before you're allowed to have sex. It's like, the point is you're going to suck at the start. Like, of course you will. I sucked at the start. You sucked.
Yeah, 100%.
How are we going to be good? We don't know what we're doing. I didn't know what I was doing. As long as you're honest with that and you communicate it. And so what was the exact phrasing that you said to your girl the first time you said, hey, do you want to try rope? Like, what did you say? How did you phrase that?
Well, I used the phrase for quite a long time on Tinder. Like, I don't have a lot of experience, but I'd like to learn about this, which was ropes at that point. Or I said that I have areas of interest that I'd like to do. Nowadays, I just say that I'm interested in mostly ropes, but I'm interested in trying if some interesting girl comes up. But like literally I think the second message or the message when I ask for the number is like, hey, I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I like to try. Go slow and try.
I'm laughing. Okay, the reason I'm laughing is because do you know how many? I wish everyone listening, and I wish you could be in my position for like a week, so you can see like because there's certain like. And I'm phrasing this in a good way. I mean, this is a positive thing. But you see people repeating the same insecurities and doubts and fears and concerns over and over again so many millions of times. I think I had this fucking conversation with you in one of our calls. You see it so many times that you're like, at some point it's like funny. And I mean that in a genuinely like empathetic, loving way. like, I'm not sitting there laughing at people's doubts and fears and insecurities, but it's funny because it's like, oh, you're like one more person who's worried about this thing and one more person that I'm going to help to get over this. And then you're going to look back and go like, fuck, like, why did I care about that? And I'm laughing because I know in the future, you and I will sit there and laugh about it. Like, we'll look back and go like, ha, remember when I literally thought that like I wasn't good enough to do BDSM, or I thought that I wasn't experienced, like, and so you get to that point where you laugh. And what you just said is the most magical way of dealing with it. So many people have this big fear of like, well, what if she finds out that I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm inexperienced, or I'm not an expert, or I'm a virgin, or I'm not good at BDSM, or my dick doesn't work, or, you know, I have insecurities, or I have loose skin, which you have a little bit of loose skin from all the weight loss. Like, what if she finds these things out? I'm so scared. The way you phrased it before is perfect. You just tell her.
Yeah.
So you said, you know, the fear is like, what if she finds out that I don't have experience? You literally started your fucking message with, hey, I don't have experience. Would you like to try with me? And like, that's the fucking solution, guys. Aren't we all here to be honest? Aren't we all here to be fucking masculine men? And any women listening, maybe you want to be a masculine woman. More power to you. Fuck, man. Even some of the women, because I do have some women listen. The women listening, you women listen. Aren't you here to be the most honest and authentic and what would you call the female version? I mean, fuck it. It's a meme, but there's some truth in it. A strong, independent woman, right? Like, and maybe a better way of phrasing that is like an assertive woman, like a confident woman, a woman who can just say what she wants. Isn't that why we're all here? To just say what we fucking want. And so if you're sitting there inexperienced about something, worried about it, just say that. Just say like, yo, I don't have a lot of experience, but I'd like to learn. Do you want to learn with me? Yeah. That is the number one solution to these insecurities, because you get out of your own head. And most of the time, you'll find that the other person appreciates your honesty. And why would they ever think it's a bad thing that you're not good at ropes, that you haven't had experience? Like, why would that be a bad thing? They get to learn with you. They get to help you. You get to help each other. So, yeah, man, people definitely put the cart before the horse. They're like, I have to be good at shibari before I can ever do shibari. And it's like, that makes no fucking sense. That's like saying, before I ever train at, I don't fucking know, what's a sport that your country and my country? What's the name? The two most popular sports in your country?
Ice hockey and ice hockey.
Okay, well, fuck. Neither of those are relevant to me. Let's just do fucking ice hockey then. You know, that's like saying I want to win an ice hockey championship, or I want to know that I can win an ice hockey championship before I start training. If I don't think I can win the championship, if I'm not 100% like 100% certain that I can win it, why am I even going to show up on the first day of training? Like, no, there's no point. If you said that, people would be like, are you fucking mentally ill? Like, are you literally retarded? What are you talking about? Go to training, dipshit. We don't know if you can win a champ. What are you talking about? Like, you have to train first before you win the championship. But people do it with sexual experience and a lot of other things, but especially sexual experience. They go, I don't have sexual experience, therefore I can't practice and get sexual experience. And you're like, what are you talking about? So go out there and try, guys. Like, don't sit there and think you have to be perfect with this shit. You really don't. Like, and at the end of the day, not that they would ever be mean about it anyway, but girls are really fucking nice. Like, if you say I don't have experience, they'll be like, cool. Like, they're not going to be like, oh, you're a beta male. What are you, a little faggot? I'm not going to date you, you little faggot. Like, why? Why? Like, you don't have experience? No, I'm sorry. I'm going to go find an alpha male chat. Like, no, that shit doesn't happen. Maybe it happens on the red pill, but it doesn't happen in reality. If and it does happen, it's like you dodged a bullet.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I was going to say. Like, I've had it happen like exactly one time when I said like I don't have that much experience. Back then I had a different photo on Tinder where I had a whip, and like she said that, okay, like she was expecting that I have a lot of experience. When after that I said that I don't, and like, yeah, well, looks like we're not looking for the same thing. Good, you know, summer for you, and like hope you find a better match.
Yeah, and she will, because she knows what she wants. She's screening for that. You're screening for what you want. Yeah, so yeah, I think people think the world is going to fall down. Like, they think, I don't know, a woman's going to say like even then, what's the worst that happens? You say to a woman, I don't have any experience, and she says, okay, that's shit, bye. And she won't even say that, but that's the worst that could happen. She goes, oh, well, that you suck, bye. Cool, then you go talk to the next woman.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like that one woman talks to every other woman on the planet and says, hey, did you know that this guy doesn't have experience? I want all of you to agree. I want all of you to sign a contract with each other and with me that you will never talk to him ever and you will reject him like I have.
Yeah.
And if any of you break that, I'm going to kill you. So you'll have to stick to that. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, why? What the fuck? So, yeah, there's always other women. I think we've beaten that point to death. So,
yeah,
if there's something else you want to add.
Like, they won't talk to other girls on the planet, or even like in the city, or even the friend group like who they match with on Tinder.
Yeah. And the very next woman will say like, oh, you don't have experience? That's cool. I don't either. And I would actually be intimidated if you did have experience. Yeah. So yes, I would like to, I'd like to learn with you. So even if you're a virgin, one of the guys that I had on my podcast many times, Ed, you guys know Ed, he's fucking famous at this point. What he would do with the first couple of girls, because he was a virgin, he was 31, and he told the first like 5 girls that he dated or that he slept with, he said like, I'm a virgin. I have erectile dysfunction issues. Like, I basically can't get hard because I'm really fucking nervous and terrified and I have all this performance anxiety. I am not confident. I don't know how to take the lead, but I'm, and he didn't phrase it all like that. He said it in a more like positive way, I guess, but he basically said all that. And then he said, but I'm super excited and I'm here to gain experience. Would you like to learn with me? Like, I'm not he wasn't sitting there crying and going like, oh my God, I suck. He's saying like, no, look, here's the situation. I'm a virgin, performance anxiety, don't have a lot of experience or don't have any sexual experience. Would you like to learn with me? I'm super excited to learn. Let's learn together. And I think maybe 1 or 2 women said like, oh, like, I'm sorry, I'm actually looking for more experience. Like, I think I don't feel confident teaching. I don't feel confident taking the lead. And the rest of the women were like, hell yeah, let's do it. A couple even actually fantasized about it and were like, that's hot. The same as, and I'm going to get him on the podcast in the next week, Theo. You know Theo?
Yeah.
He's an he just finished up his coaching. He met a woman who was like in her 50s or something, and she found it really fucking cool that he was inexperienced. She's like, great, like, I'll teach you. And there's another guy that I think I'll get him on the podcast. I've asked him, he just hasn't gotten back to me, so I won't say his name. But this guy is currently seeing a girl, and he's a virgin I think he's 30 at the moment. And he's seeing a girl, they've already made out, they've fooled around a little bit, they're getting to the stage of sex. And she likes that he's inexperienced. She really, really, really likes it. Like, really likes it. Really, really, really likes it. She says it's amazing. She said, the way you look at me during, like, making out, or the way you look at me when we just, are there cuddling or holding hands, it makes me feel like I'm, a little kid again. It makes me feel like I'm a teenager again. It makes me feel really excited. And so I actually like that you're inexperienced. It's amazing. It's like the best thing ever. So, yeah, guys have these fears of like, what if I'm inexperienced and she finds out? It's like, don't you want her to find out so you can find the girls that are into it? And there will be some girls that are really into it, like almost to the point of a fetish. Like, they like it. It's cool. The same way that I like inexperienced girls and Imogen likes inexperienced girls because it's fun. It's like we get to teach them. We get to mentor. That's fucking cool as shit. So, yeah, there's plenty of women that will like that.
Yeah, and like when you go openly saying that, okay, what's the situation and what would you like to join? Like that already sets you a point where like you're looking for the same thing, and it becomes so much more fun.
Yeah, it's not 2 people trying to get something out of each other, or one of them trying to win. And I think a lot of like pickup artist stuff, and maybe traditional, and not all pickup artist stuff, but quite a bit of it, and a lot of the red pill stuff can do this as well. They get to a point where they're trying to get sex from women. They're trying to win. Like, they're trying to say, like, what's the perfect line that I can say? How do I convince her to sleep with me? She said she had a boyfriend. How do I still fuck her? And it's like, why don't you just find the woman that wants what you want? Yeah. And then you're both happy. And the ones that don't want what you want, tell them like, hey, I hope you go and find what you want. Like, I'll be happy. You'll be happy. Let's go separate ways. It was cool meeting you. All the best. Bye. Like, yeah, it's just so much simpler, man. It really is so much less work as well. Yeah. I've said this a million times. Like, I didn't start being honest because I'm an amazing, like, authentic, honest human being. I'm just lazy.
Same.
Like, and I am a very principled person, but yeah, it's just too much effort to fucking lie. It's like too much effort. It's like, I got to manipulate her. I got to feel guilty. Like, I got to keep up the effort. Like, I got to keep lying. What if she asks me a bunch of questions and I don't have the answers to them? Like, I got to think up an answer. I got to think up a lie. There's a really good quote. I can't remember who said it, but if you tell the truth, you never have to remember anything.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why I tell the truth, because I'm lazy, because I don't want to have to lie.
Yeah.
Plus,
On that
plus.
note, like, I've talked with couple girls about it. Like, how do they know that I'm, just not having a facade and being a chill guy and like talking, not actually,
being a fuck boy.
yeah, and like actually being some crazy person. Like I just say, like, I can't prove it to you, other than like I'm too lazy to build a facade to do this. Like I just optimize what's gonna be fun for both. Like if you're gonna be fine with it, nice. If you're not, well, we had a good chat and date, and the day was nice and sunny, so we went out, and that's nice. But like I'm way too lazy to lie or try to be something else that I'm not.
I feel like if either of us ever release, like if we ever become musicians or something, I actually, funnily enough, hey, weird self-promotion here, I actually have an album on Spotify. If any of you can find it, because it's not released under this username, under Kill Your Loser, if any of you can find it and put it in the chat, I will give you I will heart your comment. There you go. I'll pin your comment. But if any of us ever release another album or something, or another band, I feel like that would be a good band name. Too Lazy to Be a Fuckboy. Wait, I actually fucking want to. How do I do this? Let me see how I can do this. Wait there. Okay. Is that on the screen? Did I do it? Yeah.
Perfect.
I feel like that's us though, right? Like just too lazy to be fuckboys. I mean, I feel like that's a good motto for our community. All right. With that, let's segue. There's like more shit we can talk about with sex. I do want to talk about your threesome as well, because I think people will care about that. Maybe we'll jump back to that. Let's talk a little bit about pushing yourself too hard. Because one thing that you wrote in the Facebook group is, now I'm quite comfortable taking rest days and properly resting without thoughts of, I'm wasting time, I'm not getting enough done. This helps recovering from when I do push myself hard. So then paradoxically, I actually get more done compared to when I push myself to a grind and don't take rest. I say this to so many fucking people, dude. It's so hard to get this across to people, where I'm like, bro, you have to schedule in at least one day off a week. And I would like you to take some time off every evening as well. Do some meditating, maybe read some Byron Katie books, maybe ask yourself these 4 questions on some of your limiting beliefs. Just listen to some music and chill out, maybe watch some YouTube. Just take some fucking time off at least every week, if not every day, and you will get more done. Because you have that like reward or that rest or that relaxation to look forward to. And so if at 6 p.m. tonight, I get to just chill out and make some dinner and relax and have a nice time. Okay, it's 1 p.m. right now, or maybe it's like 4 p.m. right now. I'm going to bust my fucking ass and I'm going to just like grind myself like a fucking psychopath, because I know I get to chill at 6 p.m. I get to have a nice fucking time. Or if you have one day off a week, you're like, man, these 6 days are going to be the most productive 6 days of my goddamn life. Because on my one day off, Sunday or whatever it is, I'm going to just have the best fucking day ever. I'm going to go sit on the beach, or I'm going to hang out with my friends, or I'm going to relax. And you actually end up getting more done. But if you have no time off, it feels like all the days or the hours or the weeks just blend into each other. Yep. And there's no like motivation to work hard, because it feels like you're constantly tired or exhausted. So how much of a game changer was it for you to actually say like, no, I'm going to lay on the fucking couch, or I'm going to have a nap? I know you started having naps and you felt really guilty about that at first. You're like, isn't naps like for old people, and like, isn't this lazy? So talk about naps, talk about resting.
Yeah. So I've been having naps before. Like,
they weren't good naps if you're sitting there fucking beating yourself up for having naps.
Yeah. That's the difference. Like previously I was doing it out of necessity of like not feeling good actually to work on something. But I still beat myself off, like, because I'm doing it. But now
you just said you just said beat myself off. I know I interrupted. I know people are going to say in the comments that I interrupt too much, but like you just said, I beat myself off. I'm sorry. I have to call that out. Okay, continue. You beat yourself up is what you meant to say.
Yep. You know, potato, potato.
Sure.
But yeah, now I can, take a nap and, just relax. There's the internal struggle that I'm not doing enough is gone. So then the actual time is actually resting and you feel a lot more energetic afterwards. And even though it's like same or even more time off, like during the day, I might, take an hour off with napping, but then like I get so much more done during the rest of the day.
It's almost like you're in limbo.
Yeah.
Like, so if you don't decide to actually give yourself time off, it feels like a lot of the time you're in limbo. So when you're working, you're not actually really working because you're just thinking like, man, I'm tired, I want a break. But then when you do have a bit of a break, because you haven't given yourself permission to fully let go and actually take a break, it feels like you're just thinking like, I should be more productive. Or you will half have a break, half work on something else. Like maybe you kind of have a break, but you're still like mentally thinking about the work.
Yeah.
And so you're always in this like halfway stage where you're sort of working, sort of relaxing. And we all know, if you try and do two things at once, you just do two things poorly. Yeah. And so it's infinitely more effective to say, I'm going to spend this time actually chilling and relaxing. I'm going to give myself some actual time off, even if it's just 1 hour a night. God, or 1 day off a week. Yeah, you end up pulling yourself out of this limbo and you actually do both things well, resting and being productive.
Yeah. But even then, like, I still say that, like, even resting for me, it's a skill. Like, getting, like, dropping the productive stuff I'm doing, not looking at them. It's going to take a bit of time to, wind down from it. Then, actually feeling that, okay, now I'm in a resting position or phase that I can actually, feel rested afterwards. Mm-hmm. So you don't, work until 9 and try to sleep immediately. It's going to take a couple hours before you actually wind down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it's another mistake people make in self-improvement, dude, is they what's the saying? There's a saying in English, burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
Where it's like you basically wake up in the morning at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever, and you just bust your ass, and then you just try and push it like so late until that moment where you're like, all right, it's like 11 p.m., time to go to sleep now. And it's like, you can't just go like switch it off. Yeah. Like, as you're saying, you need a little bit of like winding down time. You got to put on your orange like glasses that I talk about all the time. You got to turn all the lights off in your apartment. You got to like brush your teeth. You got to wind down a little bit, chill, listen to some music, relax a little bit, lay there for a bit, meditate. It does take you a little while to disconnect. You're not a fucking robot who can just like turn the switch and go like, okay, I'm out of work mode. Now I'm into sleep mode. The brain doesn't really work like that. So that's why I recommend a bit of relaxation time before you go to bed or before you start the next week. Yeah. Let's jump into, what else have we got here? I'm just scrolling through my notes. Fuck it, man. Let's get the threesome bit done. Because then we can segue to the fact that sex isn't your main goal anymore. Yeah. So, threesome, you had a threesome. You posted in the group like threesomes are really cool, and I think that's a good place to start with. Like, because a lot of guys, I say it all the time. How many times do I say like, guys, have a threesome? Threesomes are cool. Like, it's not that difficult. Do it. Was it cool as shit? Was it fun?
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Was I exaggerating when I said this really fucking cool? It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Especially because at that point, like I had screened for like girls that like, shibari. So the majority of stuff, like I wrote two girls together and had fun with both of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is something I still haven't done. I don't know why I've never done that. It's like I forget about the fucking ropes in the middle of a threesome, but what was the most fun part of it? You say ropes if you want. You can steal that answer.
Yeah, ropes. And
was there
ropes in general, but I think like focusing on one girl with the like you do it with one girl to do stuff on the other, like that's really really fun, and especially because it was ropes, so it was really fun because of that.
Yeah. Dude, that's the cheat code to like because most guys will obviously be nervous for their first threesome. And if the girls haven't done it before, or they haven't even played with another girl before, they're going to be nervous too. And I wrote in my threesome guide, like I have a paid threesome guide. It's like a video course and a book. I wrote in there and I put so much emphasis on, if you're really nervous, the first time you have a threesome with two new girls, what I recommend you do is just pick one girl and you and the other girl focus on her. And the girl that's with you, she's almost like your assistant, and she's going to help you pleasure or, please, or do whatever you want, like explore the first girl. You can blindfold the girl, or you can just say, hey, lay there, and me and the other girl are going to have some fun exploring your body and doing some stuff. And, you can fuck her for a little bit if you want. You can let the girls play. And then, you do that for as long as you want, and then you switch girls. You say, right, you, the other girl, now it's your turn to lay there and we'll pleasure you. And the other girl is your assistant now. That makes it so much easier for you because it's basically just normal sex. You're just doing what you would already do, but you happen to have another pair of hands. And so it's actually easier. Like, you might be more nervous, sure, but it's actually easier than normal sex because it's like, oh, I can have periods of time where I'm not doing anything. Like, because the other girl will be there to like pleasure the first girl. So it's like automated. You've basically automated your sex. It's like, you've outsourced, you've delegated your sex. There you go. And you can just sit there at the end of the bed and jerk off if you want to. I mean, fuck, that's fun. Girls like doing that, by the way. I've done that too. But yeah, threesomes are a lot easier than, I say this a million goddamn times. I mean, fuck, I even wrote a goddamn threesome course like for you guys, but they're a lot easier to have than people think. Like, people think like, oh, I'm not at the point where I'm ready to have a threesome. I don't deserve one yet. I'm not good enough yet. And it's like, in my coaching group, two guys technically had threesomes. One was a virgin, wasn't he? No, weren't they both virgins? I'm talking about Theo, and I won't say the other guy's name because I haven't asked him permission if I can talk about him yet on here. But you know who I'm talking about? His name starts with R.
Yeah.
Weren't they both virgins when they went to their orgies? I think they were, dude. I think they both were.
I don't remember the timeline. What I think with the afterwards, right?
I thought Theo's was first because I thought he did the orgy and then he met that older lady. Or am I getting them mixed up? Maybe the other guy who starts with R, he did his orgy first. Whatever. The point is, two guys who were either virgins or maybe they'd only had sex with one woman. I can't remember the timelines. I think I'm going to get both of them on the podcast so I can just ask them. And they didn't have any fucking experience. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. They had an orgy. One of them technically had like a foursome. The other guy had like a fucking orgy with like a bunch of women and shit. And they're virgins or had only slept with one woman. And so they didn't even know what they're doing. So please don't think that threesomes are like, oh, I have to be an expert or something, or I have to know what I'm doing. I have to be good at this. It's like, guys, come on. Virgins can have fucking threesomes. You guys have no excuses. So is there any maybe like one tip you want to give to guys that are like, how did you have your threesome? Like, was it difficult? How did you make it happen?
Like, I just literally asked, like, have you ever fought with a girl before? Like, or thought about it? And, if they say yes, then like, yeah, I got two. Like, would you be interested? Yeah. And then, swapping the pictures and, started organizing it.
It's literally that simple.
Yeah.
It's literally just like, have you ever thought about fooling around with another girl? Do you want to?
And a lot of girls say that they thought about it, but there are girls that then say that, okay, while they like the idea, they might not be comfortable with actually doing it, and that's the thing. Like, it's okay, and then you just find the girls that are interested in actually trying it.
I'm sure there's someone out there, probably not in our community, but I'm sure there's someone out there who's like, okay, but if she says she's not into threesomes, how do I make her be into the threesome then? It's like, bro, what are you talking about? I don't know, brainwash her if I can inject her with some drugs or something, like give her, like hack into it, fucking stab her in the brain, give her an, I don't even know, dude, like threaten her family. Put a gun to her head, and there you go. That's your fucking pickup line. That's your best pickup line right there. That's how to deal with a shit test. She's just shit testing you if she says she's not into threesomes. So you just got to get the gun out and say, like, listen, I will fucking kill you if you don't have a threesome. And then she'll have a threesome. That beats every shit test 100% of the time. You might end up in jail. So that's a downside, but you will probably get your threesome unless she starts screaming and the neighbors come and then you're fucked. But
yeah.
So that's how you handle any shit test with a gun. Knives sort of work, but people tend to run away from knives a little more. So yeah. I feel like some smartass is gonna be like, oh, thanks, bro. Like, I'm gonna go try this tonight. No, don't. Yeah. So threesomes are pretty easy. Again, I have a paid threesome course. I can't link to it on YouTube, but just go to my website, search for threesome guide. It's pretty fucking simple. BDSM, we talked about that. Is there any other sex stuff before we say that you don't give a shit about sex anymore? Is there anything we haven't covered with sex? I feel like we have. That's every sex thing.
Pretty much, I think.
Well, let's jump into it, dude. You're at the point where you feel like, or you said, I'm at the point where sex is not the dominant thought, so I can focus on my other goals. And I think this surprises some people, honestly. Like, one of the things that I've been trying to get out there is the message that, like, sex is wonderful, dating is amazing, being an alpha male Chad, big dick god who gets laid all the time is cool as shit, like, sure. But there's more to life than just sex. Like, sex, and sex is amazing, to be clear. And if you're someone who's a virgin, you're going to say, like, bro, I don't give a fuck what else there is in life. I just want to lose it. I 100% get it. 100% get it. Yeah. But I find that every single client, once they get to a point where they're pretty happy with their sex life, or they know what they need to do, and it's almost like on autopilot, which yours is. You know how to get laid. You know what to do. You have decent Tinder pictures now. Like, you've done all that kind of stuff. Everyone gets to a point where they go like, all right, what's next, man? Like, what do I do next? What do I work on next? And I said to you early in the coaching, I think I said it in one of the first couple of weeks. I said, listen, man, I promise you by like week 8 or whatever, like halfway through the coaching or 2/3 of the way through the coaching, we're going to get to a point where you say, let's talk about business, or let's talk about friends, or let's talk about this. And yeah, we did. I think it was like week 8 or something, or week, whatever the fuck it was. Yeah. It wasn't very long into the coaching. And I said to you, hey, do you want to talk about money now? And you were like, maybe. Yeah, maybe I do. So 2 questions there. Did you always know that sex wasn't going to... And sex is fun, let's be clear. Sex is fun. You care about sex, I care about sex. But did you know that it wasn't going to be the dominant goal? Like, did you know you'd get to that point? And were you trying to get there? Or was it more of like a pleasant surprise of like, oh shit, I didn't think I'd get there this quickly?
Well, it wasn't like goal in the beginning. Like, I wrote in the first post that like I got 2 goals pretty much. One being being able to talk honestly with the girls. And the second one was that I get to a point where like sex is not the dominant thought. So I got there. It was a positive surprise that it happened so quickly, I'd say, and especially because like we got discussing about the shibari in like, I don't know, second week or something. So I found like the things that I realized that I enjoyed so freaking much that like that's what I learned to screen for like from the beginning. So I actually I tried a lot of stuff, and then I found, okay, I like this. So I'm gonna just focus on finding more girls that are into this. So I got to the point where I get sex that I like. I really, really like at that around week 6 mark. At which point, like, okay, like I get good sex and like interesting sex. So why I don't really need to talk much more about this.
It wasn't even just the sex, because here's something else you wrote that ties into what you just said. You said, after meeting this girl that I experimented ropes with, you're seeing a couple of girls at the moment. I think you said you're seeing 4. And one of them is like the girl in the photo that you did the ropes and stuff with. You said, after I met her, I'm more and more determined that I don't really care just about sex. Rather, I want a certain kind of sex and good connection, which has led me to being really picky and screening for specifically those qualities. So you're not just talking about the sex here. Obviously, the sex you're talking about, like domination and exploring and kinky and ropes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But when you're talking about a good connection, what is the good connection for you? Like, what does that actually mean?
I can talk with them like in the bedroom as well as like outside the bedroom, which, well, the ultimate goal is to find, long-term serious girlfriend, but that requires, that the sex is good. We enjoy similar kind of stuff. We can talk about any kinds of stuff. And then the third one, that they have their own goals, or like or
their own like ambitions and self-improvement.
And that ties to the, like, even if like I don't see them, seriously, or like they're not serious relationship, but if I'm going to be seeing them like for long term, I like to discuss, okay, how's their life going? And at that point I want to know more about, like, if they don't have goals, like I'm not going to be having any interest in discussing with them. There's not going to be much to talk between us, because I work and focus heavily on my goals. And if they're just doing 9 to 5 and completely happy on doing whatever, then I say cool. And what else can I say to that?
Yeah And I think that comes from realizing that you have options, or people would phrase it as like abundance mentality. It's when you realize, like, oh shit, like I can meet women, like I can get laid, I can have relationships, I am attractive. And again, that was something you really struggled with at the start. To be clear, like, let's put it up on the screen again. Like, this is where you started and this is where you're at now. So you can see why you did struggle to call yourself attractive for a long time there. Probably about halfway through the coaching, we started to get you to even admit that maybe you were attractive. And so, when you realize you're attractive, you realize you have options, you realize that women seem to like you and you're a decent human being and you're pretty good at sex and all of that kind of shit. You realize, like, oh shit, I'm allowed to like start actually finding the women that I connect with a little better. And at that point, you usually do start screening for like actual qualities. And the one consistent thing that almost every guy that I've seen goes for eventually, once they get to that point where they have options, they all go for like, I just want her to have some goals or some ambition. Or even if she doesn't have goals yet, because she doesn't know what those goals are, she wants to have goals. Like, she hasn't defined them yet, but she knows that she wants shit from life. She doesn't want to just be like complacent. She doesn't want to be an average person, so to speak. Yeah, I feel like that's like a fucking requirement. I've said this so many times. I don't know how any of us watching could ever be comfortable with a woman who didn't have goals. You can for short-term and casual relationships. Let's be clear. Like, you don't have to say on the first date when you're going to sleep with a girl, what are your goals? Tell me right now. Tell me. Although I do, and I think you do, but you don't have to do that. But if it's some sort of long-term thing, even if it's like a casual relationship, I don't think you'd be okay seeing someone after like 6 months or a year if they're just like, no, my only goals are like sleeping and eating and watching movies. It's like, it sounds like I would just phrase it like this. I think you do have the thought of like, I could do better.
Yeah.
Like, my time is valuable. My sexuality is valuable. My dick is valuable. And that's not said in like a, mean or bitter or grumpy way, but it's like, no, I don't just give my sexuality out to anyone. The same concept that women have by default. It takes us a bit of effort to get to and build that abundance mentality and realize I don't just have to give my dick to every woman that's interested. Right? I don't have to give my dick to every woman that swipes right on me on Tinder. I'm allowed to choose who I give my sexuality to. So I don't know about you, but that feels like a big epiphany when you have that, where it's like, I don't just have to sleep with anyone. I get to choose. Because at the start, we men are not used to that.
No.
On the note of, let's dive into like the work then. Let's segue to the work. So, we've said that you're at a point where you're pretty comfortable with the girls that you're seeing. You know that even when you move, again, you're going to move in another year or, a couple years. Even when you move, you know how to meet other women. You'll be perfectly fine. You feel like the sex and dating, side of things is going to handle itself. And obviously, I mean, I feel like you already know this, but I will say there are skills to learn in a relationship. Like you will just suck at relationships at the start. It's like, but that's fine. I sucked. I probably still suck. So that's more like a new chapter that you get to have some fun with. But I feel like that you'll be fine with all that shit. You have the basic skills of communication and honesty and self-improvement and all of that. And so you're at the point where you're focusing on other shit. And I feel like this was like fucking random, but this just like happens with people. Some of the other people in the coaching group, this happened with at the same time, where you go, all right, for Tinder, I'm going to learn how to, take photos and maybe do a little bit of photoshopping just so I can make the pictures better. And in your case, you also wanted to do some rope photos and some BDSM kind of photos. And you start it. And then at some point you're like, wait, photography is cool as shit. And then I'm like, yeah, brother, I told you photography is cool as shit, right? And then in your case, you were like, man, and like Photoshop is cool too. And I was like, fuck yes, dude. Photoshop is so sick. And you actually have started turning this into a fucking side hustle. Like at some point you said to me like, shit, man, I think I might want this to be like my income, at least like right now.
Yeah.
How do I go about that? And we sat down and I gave you like a million different ideas and we went through and you actually took some action on it. So yeah, talk us through that. Like that wasn't planned, was it? Like you being interested in photography was not fucking planned.
Well, yeah, I bought the camera as a suggestion from reading the Tinder guide. Okay, it's going to be probably easier and more efficient, to learn to take your own photos, which I did. But then, like, after doing like mine and my friends' Tinder profiles, I realized, it's actually pretty fun. And after doing it for like the summer, like, and in the start of the coaching, I asked for tips on, okay, how do you learn Photoshop? Because like, I knew that it's like I'm not gonna be in the group forever, so where Andy photoshopped the pictures himself, so I might as well learn the Photoshop while at it. And after the summer, like, that's actually really fun. Like all parts of it. Didn't land on it, but like I find it fun, so I just might as well try and do more of it while I can.
And you got pretty decent at it, to be clear. Like, I put the photos up on the screen earlier. Whack them up again. Like the one on the right, that's a pretty fucking decent photo. That's you. Like you, as in you took that. This photo here, that's a great fucking photo. You're getting decent with lighting as well. You got pretty freaking decent with photography. If anyone wants tips on learning photography and Photoshop, feel free to jump in and say anything. But my biggest tip is honestly just go out and take 10,000 photos. Like just you're going to suck at it and get better. Is there something you'd add to that? Like just with photography first, and then we'll do Photoshop in a second.
Yeah. Take 10K pictures, like, just ask feedback from, I don't know, probably not direct friends, because they usually say that, okay, they're good. But like, if you have, other groups of people that, are at least somewhat to photography, that you'll get like a lot better like feedback from there. But in general, if you're, trying to get good pictures of people, get closer and closer until you're like
move closer. You literally mean like move closer. Yeah.
How I've said to like a couple of people, like get close enough that you see the like nose hairs and then take a step back.
Yeah. Or I like the old because to be clear, what most people do when they take photos is they stand so fucking far back that the person they're taking a photo of, and if you're taking self-portraits for Tinder, you yourself, you will just be like a little tiny bit of the frame, and then the whole rest of the picture is just like complete fucking empty space because you were standing so far back. And so the saying that I always say is a classic photography, like a saying, get as close as you possibly can and then get a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Because whatever you think is close is usually way too far. And so I feel like someone's still going to miss. They're going to do that, and then they're still going to be standing so fucking far back. So just get closer. Practice getting closer. Don't get so close that you're like literally fucking like, okay, maybe don't get this close for a fucking portrait, but you
that's what I say. Like get that close and then take one step back, and then you're pretty much at the point where you want to be.
Yeah. You also got pretty decent at Photoshop. And you asked me early on, like, how can I improve at Photoshop? And I gave you a couple of resources, but probably the best one I gave you was a website called Flern. I'll pop that on the screen. There you go. So it's down in the bottom left if you're watching, flern.com. So PHLEARN.com. It's probably the best website. Again, not sponsored, but I fucking love them. that website got me to a point where I got really fucking good at Photoshop. And
Yeah.
obviously that helped you a lot. So I would just start there. And again, just give yourself permission to suck with photography and Photoshop. Like, you're not going to be good at the start. Any business, you're not going to be good. And I guess we can give advice for businesses in general, because at this point, this is more like a side hustle for you, but it sounds like you're going to turn it into like an income, or you're going to, keep pursuing it, and maybe you do it full time. Maybe you just see where it goes. I think you want to do it full time. Is that right? Like, you want it to eventually.
Well, I don't know now. We can probably touch the like software side now, or so.
Yeah.
As I said, I burned out in Amsterdam on software, and like during the spring, I tried to get back to the software engineering part that I was doing I had studied, graduated from university as master's, and then done couple of, something like 5 years of like worth of experience work. So I've gotten fairly decent. I could have been, gotten fairly good salaries in Amsterdam and remote, but then like I just realized that I can't physically do it. I can't focus on the thing. And after some of the discussion with Andy, like we realized that I just don't enjoy it anymore. And like I still notice that my energy levels plummet whenever I look at like or try to concentrate on any software related stuff. So I just had to ditch that for now. We'll see someday.
Yeah, it's basically like, I even said to you, remember we had this big discussion where you said, like, fuck, man, I feel like my energy levels are always so low. Like, I just can't get anything done. Like, I feel like I'm literally, like, there's something physically actually wrong with me. And I was like, I remember we had the discussion. I said, like, okay, when does this happen? And you were like, whenever I'm at my job. And I was like, okay, well, does it happen outside of your job? And you were like, no. And I was like, well, what if you walk around for hours and hours and hours, or you have a killer day at the gym, or you go all in with your self-improvement, like you exhaust yourself. Do you feel low energy then? And you were like, no. And I was like, so it's literally only at your fucking job. I was like, bro, your body is trying to tell you something. You don't enjoy the job. And it clicked, and you were like, oh shit, maybe, fuck, maybe I don't like my job. And I've met quite a few, or I've coached quite a few guys where it's like that. They literally go like, man, I just don't want to get out of my car and go into work every day. Like, what's wrong with me? And I'm like, bro, that means you don't like your job. Like, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong with you. You're not a pussy because your body is like screaming, I don't want to go in there. Don't make me go in there. It just means you don't enjoy the job. So yeah, one thing that you said was like, it's gone from a wish that I would like to live from my own work someday to actually having an idea of how to possibly make that a reality. That's a huge fucking statement right there. Yeah. I feel like you really did over the 12 weeks realize like, oh shit, man, like however I want to make money, I'm allowed to.
Yeah.
Like if I want to do it from photography, I can. I don't have to do it from software engineering. I don't have to be a slave. There's nothing wrong with software engineering. It just, at this point, doesn't seem to be what you want to do. So
no.
Don't do it.
And even then, like the skills will be 100% useful, because like when you start like doing side hustle and everything, like you still need to figure out like how do you market, how do you have your website, how do you keep it running and everything. Like I don't need to think about it because I know I've done that. So the skills will be 100% useful.
I feel like software engineering honestly is one of the most, if anyone hasn't done it, you probably won't understand. And again, I went to university for computer science for 2 years. I've coded a shitload, hobbyist coding, but I've coded a lot of fucking apps and stuff like that. If you haven't done any coding, you just think like, oh, it's just a nerdy thing. Anyone who's done any kind of software engineering, coding shit, you'll understand it's fucking problem solving. It's literally fucking problem solving. It's essentially the computer or the interface, whatever you want to call it, the website, the app, the language, whatever it is. Basically, I want the computer to do something, or the phone to do something that I want it to do. How do I make that happen? It's literally problem solving. The whole coding is literally problem solving. And so, fuck man, it's one of the most useful skills that you could learn. It's not just, and if you don't want to do coding, this isn't me telling you go be a fucking coder, but like anyone who has coded, you're like, yeah, man, coding's fucking useful. It's like problem solving. You basically realize every problem has a solution. Like depending on where you're working at, if you're working somewhere where there is like high pressure, and I haven't worked in those places, but I have plenty of friends who have, where there's high pressure and like the client needs the fucking website or the app or whatever. They need a certain functionality. That's non-negotiable. You don't get to say, oh, but that's too hard to code. I can't do that. It's like, no, you need to shut the fuck up and figure out how that gets coded. Like that problem needs a solution. Like there's millions of dollars on the line here. You can't just say like, oh, I don't think that's possible. It's like, no, you fucking shut up and find a way to make it possible. And so coding more than anything, more than any job I can think of at the top of my head, is like, it demands that you are really resourceful and creative and that you find problems to every solution. And you never say that can't be done. It's like, well, bitch, you better find a way to make it be done. Like shut up and make it get done. So hell yeah, brother. That's a very useful, like you will carry that with you for the rest of your life for sure.
Yeah, majority of things in software can be done. The typical question in the software engineering that's not asked
Should
it be done?
Yeah, I know. Bro, I know. No, okay. And if you want to do a really nerdy fucking joke, is like that absolutely more than any other area applies to automation, right? Like when you're like, or when you're like, bro, I'm pretty sure we can save ourselves like at least a minute every day if I just like do this, automate this, and you'll spend like fucking 6 weeks trying to... I've done that so many times.
Been there, done that.
I've done that on my computer. If any of you, I'm getting really nerdy here. If any of you know what AutoHotkey is, it's essentially a programming language. Like it is its own programming language. It's probably the best way that I've ever found for like a hobbyist coder to make your computer do whatever the fuck you want it to do. It's probably the best. I'm not explaining it very well, but it's very much a language that anyone can use. You don't have to be super great at coding. And you can get your computer or your browser or your mouse or your keyboard. You essentially have direct access to your keyboard and your mouse and all the windows and all of that kind of stuff. And so it's like a layer between you and the computer. And so ideas of what you could use it for is like you could write an AutoHotkey script, like a program, but it's called a script, to make it so that, I don't know, let's say there's some game that you play. You could make it move the mouse in a certain direction and click it. You could basically make hacks for a game, like cheats for a game. Or you could automate something on your computer. I worked this job many years ago where I worked in like IT. And what we had to do was like essentially we had to answer customers' questions. That's the best way I can explain it. And I wrote a big database of all the answers that that I would write, because most of the answers were the same. They followed a basic template. You just changed like the customer's name. And I can't believe this wasn't already automated at this job. I can't believe we had to hand type all this shit. It should have been done by a fucking AI. So I basically used this AutoHotkey thing to write my own AI. That it would like read off the screen, like the customer's name. It would copy that into my template. It would like look for keywords that the customer had said. It would pull from my database and go like, okay, well, they said this question, answer this, and then, do this. And I wrote my own fucking thing that took me about like 6 months to write, like literally fucking 6 months to write. And I earned a shitload of money for it because we got paid per like customer answer, question that we wrote. So it was worth it for a little while. But the company shut down like a couple of months after I wrote this script. So I had like maybe, I don't know, 5 months of earning like really good money from this. And I was like, this is fucking great. Look at this like software that I spent 6 months of like, I'm literally talking like 10 hours a day, just fucking nerding out and coding this shit. Cause I'm not a great programmer. I'm a hobbyist programmer. And then, the company shuts down a couple of months after I finished this fucking thing. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? So what fucking point was I making there? I went off on a damn tangent, but anyone who doesn't understand that, I'm glad I just wasted the last 5 minutes of your life. Anyone who does understand that, automation is a fucking rabbit hole. It's a black hole. It's an abyss. It's an abyss.
Yeah, I think the thing was like, if you automate a thing that, takes a shit ton of time to do it, but then you don't get the reward. Like it can be like it's being done like a million times a day, like automating it.
That's useful, sure.
It's really useful. But if it's done just by you and, you get to use it saves you, I don't know, a day. You shouldn't be using 6 months to do it. To automate it.
Okay, let's let's use that example to make this relevant to anyone who's listening who doesn't give a fuck about coding or isn't that nerdy. People try and automate stuff when it comes to, like, let's say getting laid. And so what we're talking about here is people will get so fucking obsessed with, like, what's the perfect pickup line that I can say? That's you essentially trying to automate the process. You're trying to make it as perfect and efficient and all of that. And then I say to you, okay, you've just spent the last, like, 4 months learning pickup routines, rehearsing in front of the mirror, like doing all this shit. How many girls have you talked to in that time? And you say, well, I haven't talked to any women at all. Why did you spend all this time trying to automate or trying to make it more efficient, but you weren't actually taking the action? Like, you weren't actually out there doing anything that gets you to the result. So yeah, people do the same or can fall into the same trap with self-improvement goals. People will do it with the gym, bro. Oh my fucking God. They will sit there and spend like 3 months researching the perfect workout plan. What's the perfect diet plan? Like, how do I make sure everything's perfect? And it's like, okay, in those 3 months, how much weight have you lost? Well, none, but I can tell you everything about calories. Did you know that fat has 8 grams of 8 calories per? And they can just sit there and tell you the nerdiest shit. And you're like, but you haven't actually lost any weight. You haven't taken any action. Good Looking Loser used to have the best fucking quote ever. He said it in a couple of his articles. He said, you know, for every 1 hour that you read my website, you have to go outside and talk to women for at least 2 hours. And at the end of a lot of his articles, he'd say, get the fuck off my website and go outside. Like, literally, get off my fucking website. Go take some goddamn action. So, yeah, people fall victim to automation even when they're not in the coding or computer science world. It's a fucking trap, man. Like, don't worry about efficiency. Just worry about taking action. You can be efficient. It's like that quote where people say, work smarter, not harder. And it's like, no, bitch, at the start, work harder. You don't know how to work smart. You haven't taken any action.
Yeah.
You literally don't know how to work smart. You're not working at all. And it says work smarter. That smarter means smarter than you already are working. You're currently not working, so there is no work smarter.
Yeah.
It's like start working first, and then you can learn to work smarter. So,
yeah, you can't improve a zero.
Yeah, yeah, you can't multiply a zero for sure. So energy levels, talked about that. Oh, okay, let's do this one. Early on, you said Andy suggested that I write a daily log because that's how you get the most out of the coaching. But logging itself, as in, you know, other people call it journaling, has become a hugely beneficial routine for me to reflect on what often feels like a huge struggle, especially something or some things that I've written about, you know, inner inquiry. So I'm for sure going to keep doing this in the future. Yeah. Do you feel like journaling helps you sort of, like when you're having those overwhelming problems, and when we say journaling, we mean either in a diary or even better is in some sort of group. You know, if you sign up for my coaching, there's a group in there, or maybe my forums or something like that. Do you feel like this journaling has helped you sort of break down some of the bigger problems and realize that, like, oh, it's not so overwhelming. Like, it's just, it helps like clarify your thoughts?
Yeah, like that. Those help me clarify the progress that I was making, especially because like when I was doing the Byron Katie stuff in the beginning, and I had like huge amount of statements to go through, especially with the productivity. Like I had something like 50, 60 statements in the beginning, and I was doing like 5 a day. But then I wrote, you know, a bit of reflection on each of the statements that I did like daily to the log, and like it wasn't like that much, but it still helped me after I've done the inquiry to reflect, okay, what did I get out of it? Like, it wasn't a big thing, but it's still yet another part where I, you know, see, okay, I'm doing stuff, even though like it feels small, but I'm still doing stuff.
Yeah, giving yourself credit.
Yeah, giving credit for myself. Yeah.
And the reason that we want to give ourselves credit is not to brag or to be like, oh, wow, look at all I did today. I mean, it's not really that, but like, it's so that you can snowball your success. Because if you're sitting there and you feel like, I haven't done anything, I'm not making any progress, it feels like, you know, it's hard to get started. It feels like, why should I even go to the gym today? Because I'm already fucking failing. There's no point. But if you can celebrate your successes and write them down and say, maybe I've done a little bit more than I thought I had. Look at me. I've done a fair bit today. Yeah. You know, today was pretty good. It's easier to then tomorrow be like, well, yesterday was pretty good. Maybe today can be a good day too. There's already momentum. You're not dealing with, or you're not pushing against inertia. So yeah, giving yourself credit, celebrating your wins, journaling, sharing with other people. This shit is mandatory. It's not optional. It's fucking mandatory.
Yeah,
On
like
that note,
like consistently
go.
becoming, really, 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 really tiny wins, like daily, like like just having small wins, like, and then those compound over time. Like that's the thing.
Yes. And sometimes you'll have giant leaps forward where you do something really amazing and huge and impressive. But I've said this, I think I even said this in the podcast yesterday with Harry. No, it wasn't that. It was a previous podcast, I remember. But I said a lot of my progress and the stuff that I've done is not sexy and glamorous. It's kind of like consistency and boring. And the same with you. Like you losing 50 kilograms. Again, let's put it up on screen. That looks, oh my God, glamorous. Oh my God, look at this guy. Holy shit, from fat to fit. On the left, ladies are going to swipe left. On the right, ladies will swipe right. Oh my God, I bet the guy on the right gets so much. Isn't that amazing? Like, you look at that and it looks glamorous, but the actual reality, as we've just told you, and even then, people are still not going to get it because I understand. You look at the picture, it looks amazing. This took him 5 years. And yes, he could have done it quicker. He took breaks and fine. But like, the point is, this is 5 years of self-improvement. This isn't just like he woke up one day and he went from fat to fit. And, my self-improvement story is the same. Like I was depressed until my, mid or sort of early to mid 20s. I spent years overcoming the depression. I went out and, I fixed myself. And then I got into another toxic relationship and was in that for 4 years and came out of that and was like, fuck me. I thought I'd learned my lessons. Then I found Good Looking Loser. I did 6 years of 7 years at this point, 7 years since then, 7.5 years. This shit takes some time. And so I think people think they will look at the end result. Like they'll look at you and go like, oh, this guy's saying that, he's good with BDSM. He's seeing 4 girls right now. He's just had a threesome. He looks really good. He seems happy. He's working on his business. Holy shit, dude. Like he must have just like killed it in the 12 weeks. And it's like, to be clear, you did a lot of work in the 12 weeks. Let's fucking make that apparent. But you were consistent in the 12 weeks and you were consistent in all the months before that. Like this wasn't that you just showed up and like you're some highly powered, amazing God that no one else could be. Like you had lots of days where you're like, I don't have any energy today. I don't want to do anything. Like I have days like that all the time. Today was one of those days, by the way. But you just show up and you do what needs to be done. You do a little bit. And when we say do what needs to be done, we don't mean you go and have the best day of all time and you're a God. And it's like, no, just do 1 or 2 little things to make some progress. Yeah. Like a little bit, a tiny bit, a tiny bit. Today, my only progress was recording this podcast and editing the one that I did yesterday. That's it. That's my progress for today. I didn't go to the gym. I haven't done anything else amazing. I didn't do a lot of walking. I haven't done anything that exciting. Like today was a pretty fucking lazy day, but I edited a podcast and I've recorded this one and I'll probably do something after this. Maybe I'll edit this podcast, but that's not a lot, but it's progress. And so most of your days will be pretty boring. Most of self-improvement is pretty mundane and boring. It's just showing up. Yeah. So don't think that you have to be some amazing person. I mean this in a nice way, and I know you'll understand what I'm saying. I don't think you are an amazing human being. Okay, that sounded. I think you're an amazing human being, but I don't think you're a special human being. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I don't think you're a unique. Yeah. It's just that you showed up every day. You were consistent. If there's one thing that you did that I could give to other people, it would be like, just turn up every day and do a little bit. That's it. Yeah. It's the one difference between you and maybe anyone else out there who's going like, oh shit, I haven't reached my goals yet. How did he do it? He just tried every day. That's it. And some days he couldn't do much. That's fine. But like he still tried. That's it.
Yeah. Literally, starting with 5 minutes a day, something, whatever you want to focus on, like 5 minutes. Like if you can't do 5 minutes, right, and well, with the gym, like walk there and walk back. Like that's it. If it's far, well, that's going to be a bit harder. But but 5 minutes. Let's say on diet, like just weigh whatever you ate, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Like that's a good day in itself.
And
that will
be glamorous.
Yeah.
let's talk about, I got a couple more quotes that I can read out. I don't think we have to talk a lot about this. I just wanted to point it out because there are a lot of people that sort of sit there and don't reach out to help, whether that's reaching out to help with me, with coaching, or reaching out to friends or something else. One quote that you wrote in your original story when you were talking about like before the coaching and stuff, you said, after another like mini burnout back in April/May,
Yep.
I reflected that it will take me forever if I keep trying to do this alone. This reflection led to me seriously considering taking on coaching, so I wrote the novel of an application to Andy in a day. You did write a long application. I appreciated that, by the way. I like when people put lots of detail. I pushed send before I lost the frustration that had been boiling within, and oh boy, has that decision been the best ever, because I don't recognize myself from the start of June anymore, which I've said a couple of times now. So the reason that I'm reading that out is like, a lot of people won't reach out for help. Again, if that's me, if that's the forums, like my forums, if that's friends, and they will just sit there and sort of have it can come from ego, this idea of like, I have to do this on my own. It can also come from not wanting to be a burden to other people. I'm a man. I shouldn't talk about my problems. I don't want to annoy other people. I don't want to be a burden. But, feel free to jump in and say whatever you want to say here. But I just want to quickly say, like, if you're struggling, like, fucking reach out. Yeah. To me, to the forums. There are so many fucking people in the world that want you to have an elite life. And one of the things that I see people do time and time again is just sitting there going like, it'll never change. I can't do it. Like, now's not the right time. I don't deserve this. I don't want to be a burden. It's like, for fuck's sakes, if you're not going to do it now, if you're not going to change your life now, when the hell are you going to do so?
Yeah.
I was glad you reached out. And again, even if someone doesn't reach out, but they join the forums, I'm just as happy. Like, don't sit there and just fucking try and do it on your own. Because, how have you found the difference between like the accountability of the coaching group and I guess accountability from me as well? How's the difference been from that versus when you're trying to do everything by yourself?
Like we discussed this in the end, like, I could have done all of this on my own, but it would have taken me years to get to the same point. With this, when you're doing it with someone that you get, well, especially if there's some people that have, done it before you, they're going to give you like good tips on what to actually focus on.
Yeah.
Also, they push you. They give you like, they give you, point that, okay, you should give your credit to yourself about that you did this. And then, they also push you to actually, go forward. So even if you're having a shitty day and they say like, no worries, it's just going to be a day or two. And then like, you'll be good in no time. Mm-hmm. So all that accountability is that like you have and also at times you just want to vent on about something, and that's like the best place to do it because they've
it's
seen.
It's nice to know that they understand and they give a shit.
They've seen you go through whatever, and they've often been through similar situations, so they understand you.
Yeah, man. Yeah. The self-improvement community in general. And especially our community, like, the YouTube comments, my forums, my coaching group, like all of that combined, people are pretty fucking welcoming and people are pretty nice and people absolutely have you back. And it's especially the topics that we talk about, we're not particularly mainstream. And so sometimes you will open up to other people, like, people in the mainstream or normal people, so to speak. And they won't always understand. Because they say, like, why are you working on getting laid? Isn't that shallow? Like, why are you using women? And you're like, well, no, I don't want to use women. They just sort of won't understand. So it is nice to have people that go like, yeah, bro, I get it. Yeah, you want to handle your sex life. You probably want to build an amazing business. Maybe you want a lot of friends. You want a cool body. You want to, go and reach the stars. Yeah, I get it, dude. Let's do it. It's like they're already pre-screened. You know what I mean? Yeah. On the topic of accountability, I'll read something else that you wrote. The accountability partners and groups, as well as the Discord group, so the Discord group you're talking about is just part of my coaching, have been tremendously helpful, and most likely the importance only grows once the coaching ends. Yeah, I say that all the time, man. Like, you want accountability, one of the best things I ever did for my coaching program was switch it from a one-on-one coaching program to like also a group. So you did one-on-one coaching, but that includes a group. Like, whereas in the past, this is like a couple of years ago, I was just doing like one-on-one calls with coaching clients. Do you know how fucking hard it is to get someone to like really, really, really change their life if the only person that they really have to talk to about it is you? It's like, no matter how great and wonderful and special I think I am, which I don't think I'm that special, but even if I did, like, I'm only one fucking person. Like, at the end of the day, it's not one particular person or one particular pickup artist or one particular self-help guru or one particular mentor that's going to really change your life. It's going to sound cliche, but it's all the friends you make along the way, honestly, because they're the ones that are going through the same shit as you. They're your brotherhood or your sisterhood or whatever it is. It's really the other fucking people. So again, if that's my coaching program, if that's my forums, if that's a group of like Telegram or WhatsApp friends that you have, get some fucking accountability partners.
Yeah.
Like, don't do this fucking shit alone. Like, goddamn, dude. And you've started being friends, or you've started doing accountability calls with some of the other people that I've had in my coaching programs before. Because one cool thing that we have that I really like is anyone who signs up for the coaching gets access to the Discord group that we have, which is every coaching client that I've worked with. Like, so you basically get to go in a fucking group with all the fucking people that I've done these podcasts with. If anyone signs up, they get to talk to you even. Renee, like Pal, some of the cool people that I've had in there in the past, Ed, people like that. And it's you know, you said it's really cool and like freakishly useful to talk to the people that Andy, or that I've seen killing it on Andy's channel before. Again, this is all just like, that's a very extreme or a very like fucking hardcore group of people. But even if you don't join the coaching, even if you just like build your own little team of self-improvement gurus, self-improvement people that can push each other, like, I'm trying to really get this point across. Don't do this shit alone. It's just fucking impossible to do it alone. It's so fucking hard. Like, god damn it. Anything else you would like to talk about? Oh, okay. No. Here's one more thing before I say that. One last fucking quote, and then we can jump on to, is there anything else you want to talk about? You said in your final, goodbyes in the group, you said, I noticed that my self-improvement pace keeps speeding up, which is amazing. One part of that is that I can spend more time on improvement, and I also do things smarter nowadays. Like, people don't realize, dude, like, I think they understand it, but they don't really understand it until, like, they see it like you did.
Yeah.
If it takes you like 1 year, or maybe it takes some people 2 years or 5 years or whatever to like get laid, they think like, oh fuck, 5 years to get laid. And it usually doesn't take that long. Fine, let's be realistic. 2 years to get laid, to really, really, really be getting laid. Fuck, then it will take me like another 2 years to build a social group. And then it will take me like at least another 2 years to build a business, maybe longer. And then God, like 2 more years to do this. And then God, it'll be so long. And it's like, they don't realize you get quicker at each goal. Like, your first goal that you're working on is usually or always the slowest. Like, you're the shittest at it. You don't have the self-improvement skills. You don't have an accountability group. You don't know what you're doing. You're kind of just guessing and hoping. You usually have a lot of negative thoughts and all of that. You're not used to that. You don't have good habits in place, like sleep, diet, exercise, all of that. Do you feel like, and I think I said this to you early on in the coaching, do you feel like it's starting to like really fucking snowball and you're like, oh shit, I can see how I could get really quick and each goal will like happen quicker and quicker?
Yeah. So yeah, part of it is like that you said, the self-improvement skills, like mental skills, like you learn to, build habits for yourself. You figure out the things that are, preventing you, which being like not a poor diet, or you're not sleeping enough, or whatever. Or then the mental part, like the Byron Katie stuff, you get rid of the negative, or you become peaceful with your negative thoughts.
Yes.
And like all of this, it's not related to the goal, but it's the things that are blocking you from actually reaching it. So when those are out of the way, like you get to the goal way faster. And that's the main thing I got from probably this summer, is like, I'm getting to the goal way faster because I've got all of this out of the way.
There's a it was like an entrepreneur like course that I paid for by Alex Becker. If any of you don't know Alex Becker, fucking really good entrepreneur advice. And in this course, the start of the course isn't about like how to be a good coach. It isn't about like how to educate people. It isn't about how to give value or how to be interesting or how to be any of that shit. No, it's about, he called it stop doing dumb shit. And this is basically exactly what you're talking about here. He said, we get in the way of our own goals. We literally do. And people who become successful entrepreneurs or who lose a lot of weight or who, get married and have an amazing marriage and kids, like whatever their goal is, people who achieve, greatness or great things, they have all learned to stop doing dumb shit. The stuff that gets in the way. It's mandatory that you stop doing dumb shit. And by dumb shit, what I'm talking about is like maybe, and this is something you learned as well, maybe you go out drinking every single weekend and you get really drunk. And then because you drank a lot, you're not very productive over the weekend. And then Monday, you're kind of recovering. And so now Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, you're unproductive. That's like half of the fucking week. And you repeat that cycle every single week. And you tell yourself, oh, it's not that bad. I'm just drinking on Friday and Saturday and maybe Sunday. But it's like you are screwing up 50% of your time. If you want to have a drink here and there, fine. There's healthy ways of doing that. But like another good one is people will, burn the candle at both ends. Like I said before, they'll get up at 5 or 6 a.m. They'll start working and being productive. And then they go to like fucking 11:30 p.m. and they go, all right, time for sleep. And so they're destroying their sleep. And then they're like, gee whiz, how come I find it really hard to concentrate without 8 cups of coffee? And how come I just for some reason, I keep binge eating. I'm finding it really difficult to stick to my diet, and I keep jacking off to porn, and I can't stop drinking whiskey. Like, why? What's wrong with me? Is it because I don't have enough willpower? And it's like, yes, because you're draining the willpower by screwing your sleep. It's really hard to have willpower when you don't have any sleep. It's really hard. I want to eat all the food in the universe when I don't sleep enough.
Yeah.
I don't want to work on my goals when I'm tired. Like it's almost fucking impossible. I can do it, but goddamn. So yeah, that dumb shit that we do, which is what you're talking about here, you learn to stop doing that when you work on your first couple of goals. You go like, okay, fuck. Like if I want a decent sex life, maybe I can't just eat 5,000 calories of food every single day. Like maybe it's hard to have a good sex life if I'm 50, in your case, 50 kilograms overweight. Maybe it's really hard to have a good sex life. Maybe it's possible, but like shit, man, I don't want to even, it's just too hard. Maybe I'll stop doing dumb shit. I will stop eating 50 fucking pizzas a day. I'll have half a pizza a day and I'll be reasonable with my pizza consumption. I'll fix my sleep. In your case, fuck, maybe I don't want to work in the software engineering sector. Maybe that's just, or in some other cases, guys would go like, fuck, man, maybe it's really dumb of me to be in a city or a town, of like 20,000 people and be trying to get laid. Do you know how many people have said that to me? And I'm like, they're like, should I move? And I'm like, yes, there's 20,000 people in your town. Like, how are you going to get laid? Either get a girlfriend and settle down with her and, live the country life, which is fine, do that, or move to a city. And so you do get better at fixing these like dumb shit problems. And you actually get better at self-improvement. And then, the goals really do start to flow. Like they really, really, really do. You are going to be surprised that 2023, you will get probably 5 to 10 times more done than you did this year. And you'll be like, holy shit. Like, I think I said this to you in one of our last coaching calls, actually. I said, there won't be a ceiling to that. Like maybe eventually there's a ceiling, but I certainly haven't found it. Like this year, I did all of my goals by like fucking halfway through the year. And I was like, those goals were supposed to be impossible, though. Like, I didn't even know if I could do those goals. And it's halfway through the year. What do I do for the rest of the year? Holy shit, what the fuck? And then I'm sure next year I'm going to set some crazy goals and I'll achieve them in half the time. And it just keeps fucking exponentially. Like, there doesn't seem to be a limit to how much you can improve. And so I guess the whole point of this conversation is if anyone's sitting there going like, fuck, man, I have all this shit to do. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm a virgin. I'm fat. I'm short. I don't have any friends. I'm depressed. Like there's just too much shit for me to do. I can't possibly do it all. It's like, just do the first little bit. Just work on the first goal and you'll find that you get faster and faster. And I promise you, anyone listening, I promise you it gets easier. Like it really does get easier. Like it's not always going to be as difficult as the first goal. The first goal might be a bit difficult, but it gets easier.
Yeah. Like there's compounding interest on like learning more and more skills related to self-improvement.
And Okay, here's another thing that I would add. They overlap. We even had the conversation with your software engineer. So, I mean, one of my favorite articles that I ever wrote was called "How Getting Laid Makes You a Better Man."
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have the fear of like, oh, but isn't it shallow to just work on my sex and dating life? Like, isn't that really shallow? And so I wrote this long article of how just focusing on getting laid, as long as you're doing it in an ethical way, you're being honest with women and all that stuff, and you're doing it from a self-improvement point of view, you're trying to improve yourself along the way, that just getting laid improves your life in I think I wrote 20 different ways. Like that will have, positive impact on you for the rest of your life. Like every other goal that you do after getting laid is easier because you worked on getting laid. So this stuff, I like that you say compounding interest. It really does overlap. Any goal helps you with every other goal that you'll ever do. Like nothing is wasted. Nothing is done in isolation. So yeah, go out and do some goals. Go out and take some baby steps. What do you want in your future? Like, what are you working on for the next, God, what are we, 2 months left in the year? What are you working on for the next 2 or 3 months? What do you want after that? You don't have to map it all out, but roughly, what do you want?
Roughly, business. I'm trying to get the side hustle going. Been looking and going into okay, how do you create ads for site? How do you create content? There's one thing I realized I can write about the weight loss, but I've done it for 6 years. I don't know what's the problems that beginners have. I have no freaking clue anymore. How did I think about 6 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I'm reading stuff that people write their pain points anonymously to the internet. Okay, what do they have problems at the moment? Yep. So because I can help with them, but I can't really out of my head write, okay, what are the pain points for a beginner? Because I'm way too
remember them.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, mate, that's exactly how I started my blog, and I didn't actually intend to start a blog. I was on the Good Looking Loser forums. It's a self-improvement / getting laid forum, and people would talk about their problems or stuff that they were concerned about, or stuff they couldn't fix. And I genuinely answered the question. I go, oh, dude, do this. And I'd write essentially an article, but on the forums. And at some point people said put this, bro, you should start a website. And so I would just copy paste some of the stuff that I'd written onto the website. And I started writing, articles on the website. And every single article I wrote, the first probably 50 articles were literally because someone had a pain point. Someone had something that they were struggling with. So I'd answer that question as an article. A lot of my fucking videos are like that. Someone will ask a direct question, or some coaching client will have some problem. And so if anyone is sitting there wanting to start a blog or a YouTube channel, or start coaching, or start some sort of content, because, in case it wasn't clear, you're doing photography in Photoshop. You've earned a little bit of money from that. You've done a couple of hustles with some people, but you're also starting a blog on weight loss, and maybe you'll blog about some other stuff, but you're doing weight loss.
I'll probably write about everything. It's just that I'll start with weight loss because that's what I know the most. And what I found pain points the quickest. The next one probably will be related to how do you get good Tinder photos or something.
Yeah, stuff that you have experience with, and the way you found the pain points. You did what I said, right? I told you to just go on Reddit and different forums like that. Is that how you found the pain points? Yeah.
Reading forums, reading. Actually, I also I had discussion with friends, so I read what they asked about me about, because they've seen exactly the same comparison picture that you've been showing on this podcast, and they are can you give me tips? How do you get to that? Here's novels worth of stuff.
Yeah, but again, that's just pain points. That's them saying I want to start this journey. So yeah, if anyone wants to start a blog or a YouTube channel, or just basically giving advice, but you're not sure what articles to even start writing or what would be helpful, just go on Reddit, go to a relevant subreddit for whatever it is that you're interested in. So, or whatever you're an expert at, or whatever you feel like you can help people with, and just literally look for fucking people's questions and then write a blog article or whatever, and then give it to them as an answer. Now, a lot of subreddits won't let you post links because they call that spamming or self-promotion. So just copy the article and say, hey, I wrote an article. and copy paste the contents of the article as a reply to them. And in your profile, on your Reddit profile, have a link to your website. And so some people, if you do enough useful answers, they'll click onto your profile, you get followers, they'll click over. That's what I did on, I had a couple of subreddits I posted in. Seduction, they banned me, God knows why. The Red Pill, Let's Get Laid, just general self-improvement, get motivated, those kind of ones. And I would just post on there. I just post the full article. I just dump it as a reply to someone's question, or I'd post them as articles, and then people would click over to my profile and come to my website. It was a huge help in building my stuff up. I don't do that much anymore, but that definitely helps. So that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
Are there any final shout outs that you want to give? Anyone you want to say hello to? Anything you want to say? The floor is yours.
If you're having like any kind of stuff, poke this guy. He knows his stuff.
Which guy?
Andy. And
me. Okay, I was waiting for you to say which guy you're referring to. Okay, me. Yeah, sure. Poke me. Sure. I'm here to be poked. Where do you want people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go.
And if like for me, like if you want to get like Tinder pictures in Europe, like poke me. I might be able to help.
How can people find you?
Korkki.dev. We can probably put the thing in the description.
We'll put it in the description, but we're also going to put a fucking...
Oh, yeah, nice.
Ready? Wait. Watch this. Everybody watching, make sure you look at the scrring.
Oh, yeah.
Look down the bottom. Look at that. That's sexy. Yeah. So, yeah, perfect. I will, if I forget, please remind me, but I will put a link in the description. I shouldn't forget to that. Is that all you want to shout out, or you want to Instagram or anything? Just that? Is that the best place to find you?
Yeah, that's the best place to find me. I'm for Instagram, it's the same, but without the dot in between the thing.
Korkki Dev is one word?
Yeah.
Okay, wait, let's do that too. There you go. Yeah, I'm having fun with this software. If you can't tell, like anyone watching, like I just found this software like a couple of months ago, and it's good. It's great for interviews. You can do cool shit. So,
yeah.
Anything else you would like to say before we wrap up, good sir?
Keep working. Like goals might take time, but you'll get better at it. Like, and all of this is for long term. Like, you should be doing it for fun, not for like just getting to some point and then figuring what. Rather, figure out how do you keep the thing going, and it just happens.
Yeah, make it part of your lifestyle. Self-improvement is I wrote an article, self-improvement is a lifelong endeavor. Maybe another way that I could say that, because even the word endeavor makes it sound like it's a job. It's like self-improvement is a hobby you fall in love with. Maybe that's how I'd phrase it. Self-improvement is a hobby you'll always love. Self-improvement is a hobby you'll never quit. Maybe I'll phrase it like that. Self-improvement's a hobby you'll never quit, because it is fun. It's meant to be fun. We're all here to have fun. We're not here to just like grind and push to be miserable. And if you want more on this topic, go back and watch the interview I did with Harry. Any of you listening, that'll be on the channel by the time you watch this. We talked a lot about enjoying the process and not grinding. And you and he had a lot in common, actually. You both had the same sort of like, I got the same vibes from both of you. Yeah. Very much focused on happiness and like, I want to enjoy this process. I don't just want to grind and be fucking miserable. So I appreciate you coming on. This was amazing. We talked for 2.5 hours. We did a pretty good job. This was a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I had a lot of fun with you. I already said this, coaching you. You were really, really, really fucking fun. I told you always had what did I say? I think I said you always had a goofy smile, right? I think that's what I said to you on our last coaching call. I was like, bro, I'm going to miss your goofy smile. So it's been nice to see it again. I really appreciate you coming on.
It was really good. Get 12 weeks, and like I like this podcast too.
All right. I will leave links in the description below. Guys, go out and crush your goals. If you want coaching, I'll leave a link in the description below. Crush those goddamn goals.